recycling and disposal. Kimball provides dependable residential and commercial waste services tailored to your needs. Visit KimballCompanies.com to request a quote today. Cavaliers after their struggles with the Indiana Pacers last night at Rocket Arena. Luckily, one guy not struggling for the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan goes to work. Whoa! He knocked down both of the Pacers. That was unbelievable. Donovan Mitchell dropped a pair of Pacers with the same move, and he gets it to go. Unreal.
That Kersey Cavs, FanDuel Sports Network, as the good guys take it, 117-108. Mitchell, 23 of his 38 points in the second half. Mitchell did roll his left ankle late in the game after he made a three-pointer, but said after the game he's okay. James Harden helped out with 28 points. Cavs, a lot of guys got the night off because of injuries. Cavs, 5 players out. Jared Allen, Sam Merrill, Evan Mobley, Jalen Tyson, and Dean Wade all missed the game. Guardians doing a doubleheader with the Cubs. Lose the first one, 1-0, only run of the game. Miguel Amaya, an RBI single in the top of the eighth off for Connor Brogdon. 4 Guardian pitchers combined to give up just 2 base hits. However, the Guardians had just 1 in the nightcap. Things went a lot better. They beat the Cubs 6-5. C.J. Cavus homered as part of a 3-run rally in the bottom of the eighth. Guardians split the double dip. Cavus also had an RBI single, scored twice. Gabriel Arias, 2 base hits, and drove in 2. NCAA Women's National Championship game in Phoenix. UCLA beating South Carolina 79-51. Bruins win their first ever national title in women's basketball. Finished the season at 37-1. Be sure to catch the NCAA Men's National Championship game tonight. UConn against Michigan. Coverage starts at 7 o'clock right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Baseball, basketball, and the Browns. It's why you need the afternoon drive. Weekdays starting at 2. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
High fly ball, deep right field. Shaw's back. He's out of room. It's out of here. Tie game. C.J. Cavus to the rescue here this afternoon. There goes DeLauter for third. And I'll tell you what, Arias almost drilled with that line drive. He scores easily. And the Guardians take the lead 5-4. 33rd pitch of the inning. Book it. Cade Smith hangs on, and the Guardians win it 6-5. He had to work his tail off, but he gets the job done. Couple of Ks for Cade Smith. And the Guardians go to 6-4 on the young season.
We had a tough way to start, and it doesn't get easier. Another tough week ahead of us, and I'm sure it doesn't get easy after that. Every team in the big leagues is really good, but I couldn't be more thrilled with where we are at 6-4. I know probably not many people had that record on paper for us. So, we're just proving to ourselves again, we are good and we know that. And we just have to continue to go one day at a time, one inning at a time.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Guards TV, 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs. Hello.
Miraculous that you win that series despite how cold it was for the bats for most of yesterday for that doubleheader.
I had a friend.
I was begging for a ball to be put in play. There was a point where I was like, can either team put a ball in play to entertain me?
You and I.
That first game was an all-time snoozer.
Well, it was, bottom of the first in game 1, and Stephen Quad, he was all bundled up. I go, oh my God, he looks miserable.
They
and
all
then
looked miserable.
Right behind him, I didn't see, you and I had a mutual friend who was sitting right in camera shot of the lefties yesterday. And I texted him, and I go, oh, gosh, you look miserable. And he's a Cubs fan, and he goes, I'm freezing. This is terrible. I go, I have a space heater on in my office for my Tootsies, and I'm freezing right now watching this. I can't imagine. He and his son were there. I think they stayed for both. At least they got the split because they're Cubs fans. So it's like, okay, everybody got to be happy. You got to win one. They got to win one. We took 2 out of 3 altogether. I think we're pretty fine with that. 6-4 overall. Can I ask you something? Because this is going to open up a bit. It's going to open up a bit of a can of worms here. Are we being too hard on Gabi Arias? Because I think we might be, and I think every now and then he does do something a little bit silly, right? Like you had opening day. Let's go back to opening day, a home opener. If you guys want to be technical about it, you had the miscommunication that happened in the infield, led the Cubs run, then. People blamed him for going home on Friday, which I'm like, he got sent by Rugi Odor. He did not just take off by himself. The immediate reaction was typical Arias, head up his ass. I'm like, well, no, he got sent. I thought it wasn't the best idea to send him. Is he that? I don't think he's that fast. I don't think he's not Jose. He's not Quan. He's not the slowest guy walking. He's not Volderbach there, but I mean, he's not the fastest. And he got blamed for being sent. There were people who blamed him. This is back on Friday. He hits the go-ahead home run. Great. You always get a second chance in baseball. That's great. Then DeLauter does what DeLauter does. Place went 8. They end up winning. That's great. And then I'm thinking, well, he comes around in game 2 of this game yesterday. I'm thinking, well, what's the matter with Arias? Other than I think I have a feeling here. His name's not Travis Bazzana. For some of it, is that just it? I'm thinking that might just be it. Like with Kafis, it's like, all right, you're not George Valera, and with Gab Arias, well, you're not Travis Bazzana, and we're like waiting for it. And I'm going, man.
He's also a career like 200 hitter, so he's not.
Well, he hasn't been that great,
he doesn't
but
seem like someone who should be an everyday player. So until they bring up the kid. I mean, yeah,
but
people are going to sit there and hem and haw.
If you ask them, like if you go over, like if you talk to Andre or anybody over there, like they'll go, well, you know, the bat speed is the bat speed. There is power potential there with him. And I know he's hit a couple of home runs, so obviously there is power potential there. It's easy to say after you hit a couple of home runs to start the season. But there's power potential there. There's bat speed there. And that's going to equal some production for him. And so they're kind of afraid to give up on him, considering that they've given up on a couple of guys in the past and they end up being all-stars. So any guy who has any potential for production and power hitting is going to be given extra chances. Yes.
I don't think they have a chance to send him back to Columbus.
I don't think so either.
That's over. And that was kind of how it was last year too. They were looking for a place for him, and then Rocchio was gone for a little bit, and he kind of emerged as a guy. But
exactly.
That I don't think they want to pull. You can't pull the plug in the beginning of April because you're not going to get a chance to get him back potentially.
See, that's exactly the point. Like I know that he can be frustrating, and I've been frustrated watching because I think sometimes he spaces out and he makes silly decisions. But I also think that there might be some gold in them their hills. We saw a little bit with game 2.
I don't see a lot of gold in their hills. I gotta be honest. I don't think many Guardians fans feel that way either.
Well, I'm in this point where there's no land. So you're giving me a point where there's no landing zone. Like Rocchio's a fine enough ball player. He's a try-hard. And he's a veteran that seems to be pretty well liked in the clubhouse. Am I wrong? Am I totally wrong about Rocchio? Maybe I'm wrong on Rocchio the way it seems for some people, okay? But I got a veteran there, and then I got another player who's a younger player in Arias who, as Owen says, might be very well out of options. And so I can't just bring up Bazzana and then that's it. I have to have some sort of runway to bring a young guy up. And I just think that maybe sometimes his name is not Travis Bazzana, and so we're a little bit, myself included, I've been guilty of it in the past, we're a little bit overboard. Of course, I know this. He'll go out tonight and he'll boot like 2 of them, and then I won't even be able to look at my social media, and then that'll be the end of it because we're playing the Royals. But that's all I'm pointing out. That's all. That's what I have to point out because I think that there is. I'm going to go with what they say. You can come after the messenger.
You can tell
but I've
people,
asked before, and it's been, well, he's got a lot of bat speed, and there's a lot of potential there.
You
like
can tell how people feel about somebody like that when they start criticizing the hair and the the dye job on the hair. When you're going above and beyond, and that's one of the signature things I've heard about the guy early in the season. Like, oh, you guys just don't like him. You're ready to move on.
It does look like he's wearing one of those fake wig hats.
Yeah.
Well, we did this before. If you're a great ball player, you can do almost whatever you want. And that's in all 3 sports that we have here. Again, if Jed Wills would have blocked like Trent Williams, nobody would have said anything about long sleeves. Right? Right. If Gabi Arias played like Jose Ramirez every single day, do whatever you want with your hair, with your jewelry, with anything. But if you don't do that, then people are going to be critical of it. It's just that if Marty Cordova would have been a 350 hitter for us for any time of what he was here, nobody would have ripped him for being in the tanning bed for too long. Did you ever fall asleep in a tanning bed? It's unfortunate, I'm sure.
It's an easy place to fall asleep.
Yeah?
That's the problem. That's why so many people fall asleep.
I've never been in a tanning bed.
Got the word bed in the name.
Yeah, right.
True. All right, what did you think of overall, what did you think of the homestand so far?
Awesome.
I know we're only halfway through, but you get what I'm saying.
Obviously, they're going to be offensively challenged. I mean, on paper, I think you kind of felt that way going into the season. And now, look, early in the year,
I don't know as much as they have been in the past, though.
Well, it's huge. It's obviously DeLauter and the home runs, and so you're wondering, is he seriously going to nobody expects him to hit home runs the way he's hit them early in the season. Like everybody had the same tweet. Oh, he's on pace for 300 home runs. He's on pace for 200 home runs. Because that's all people know to do in baseball after the opening week of the year. Because we know we're all overreacting. That's all there is to do with early season anything. It's why probably too we're panicking about Cade Smith. Who I know we're going to get to that, because anything that happens when on opening day everybody's watching. So opening day, you're going to have one of your biggest, if not the biggest audience of the year until the playoffs.
He showed up. Boy, did he show up.
Right. And then, to be able to come through the way he has, he had another one where he broke up a no-hitter. It's like, this doesn't seem fluky. You know that this kid has the talent. We've known he's had the talent. And so he's been a defining guy in this opening weekend, not to mention that they have this record. Vogt even said it. We had it in the open. Had this record. Who had them winning 6 of their first 10 with this slate? Nobody.
I don't know.
I mean, the Athletic had them as the 23rd best team in the bigs. Vegas had them at what? Under 500?
Yes.
Yeah. So you saw that schedule: Seattle, playoff team, Los Angeles, World Series champ, Cubs playoff team. 6 out of 10? Hell yeah, you'll sign up for that.
Okay, so what is to you? He's got 5 home runs already. What is a great season for Chase DeLauter his rookie year? Is it 25 home runs? Because if you put only 20 more in, I think people are going to be a little bit like, oh, he only hits 20 more for the next 100 and some odd games. It's like, well, yeah,
I think
it's
him
still
staying healthy and hitting 25 home runs, yes,
there
that
you
is
go.
a successful
I think
season.
that's kind of where I'm at on him. So that's he has been a breath of fresh air. He has been obviously much heralded, much thought about already with the way that people sing the country roads when he comes up. I think he's probably one of the better stories that we've seen in the last 5 years coming up, like of young players playing for this team, playing for any team in Cleveland. Like, I think he's one of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. I mean, people are the way they gravitate to him is. I know I made my they weren't. That is true. I thought that they were excited about the other guy who I was making comparisons with. They ain't with him like this guy. My God, this is unreal.
Yeah, the only hesitation at all to just completely wrap your arms around him, as exciting as he's been, is the injuries. It's just it's like the Travis Hafner thing with him, and he got the contract, and then it was like, it's backbreaking for this team to pay anybody and them not to be good. That's why we were talking about, like, after the third game, do we extend him? Like, do we extend him? Like, well, I don't really see the need to now. But
I think he's the first guy Blitzer steps in and extends. Of the young guys, like, I think he's the first guy that he steps in and extends, and like his name's attached to it. Like, all right, we're going to give him one of these Bobby Witt 11-year deals worth so and so and so and so.
I probably need to see at least a month of him playing baseball before I get carried away.
Well, okay, but I can't. What are you concerned with?
5 days,
what are you concerned
injuries.
with? Exactly. That's the only thing you're concerned with. Like, you're not concerned with anything else.
And listen, there'd be nothing more crippling to a team like this with their payroll.
All right.
Is to pay somebody who's injured.
I'm not pointing out.
That crushes them more than anything in the world. That crushes them more than them losing a good player.
Okay, well, I didn't say sign him by the end of the week.
It sounded like it last week with fans.
No, it's something to think about. They want to get excited for somebody that's going to be the future. I mean, Jose Ramirez is not getting any younger, so you got to get ready for the next generation of ball player. I mean, he's going to break the record for most games played as an Indian/Guardian coming up later tonight against Kansas City. So you have this guy who's now starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel of his career. I need somebody to be around him. So, yeah, people are going to be pretty hopeful. When the guy hits home runs at the beginning of the year and everybody's excited, they're going to be hopeful.
Who's not hopeful? Absolutely.
But what you're saying is everybody in the back of their mind, it's the same thing. We're all worried about his injuries. I just have to worry about, or I have to try to get excited about something else. Because if I'm worried about injuries, I'm just never going to be able to enjoy sports.
After he fouled one off and had to leave the game, you could just tell that wasn't any normal... Any other player that could go down with an injury because of his history. Well, people assume the worst. They're like, oh my God, is he going to be out an extended period of time?
Because
it was fine. Came back the next day.
But I'm pointing out that I think the positive thing actually came back 2 days later. I'm pointing out that the positive thing about it is that I don't have to worry about a bunch of different holes in the swing or all this other garbage that maybe you would worry about with other players. The only thing that is there, yes, is history and that we have a long memory. So you look at some of the young guys that came up and did a great job in the past. Obviously, you bring up Joe Charbonneau. Obviously, you bring up Grady Sizemore. Now, Grady Sizemore had, 5-6 years of solid play, health-wise, before he ended up falling apart physically there. So I don't know if we always remember it. Like, it wasn't at the very beginning, and then for the rest of his career with Grady had a really nice start, and then his body started to fail him. With DeLauter, yeah, I think it's the number one thing, but I think people do want to latch on to somebody that does hit for power, because everybody's going to like home runs no matter what, and does provide protection around your future Hall of Famer. And that's what he does. And I think with him in the lineup, I don't have to sit there and, how many times have we had to rip on Manzardo so far? None. Not in the air. How many times have we really given it to Stephen Kwan? Maybe at the beginning yesterday, but other than that, we haven't really given a bunch of problems to Stephen Kwan, and he's playing center field as nice as anybody can when you're thrusting him into that situation. So I don't have to go ripping on Stephen Kwan over here, where I think that if he weren't in the lineup, I think we'd be ripping on these guys a little bit more because we need him a little bit more. But if I have DeLauter in there as a threat, then I can wait on Manzardo to heat up a little bit. Don't want to wait forever. I can wait on this roller coaster to hopefully finally end with Stephen Kwan setting things up at the top of the order. That's what I'm hoping.
Obviously been huge. Think about where they'd be without him. They're bottom 5 in almost every offensive category, through the first 10 days. They've got a negative run differential, which seems like everybody in the American League has a negative run differential.
Except the Yankees, good God.
So he's completely bailed them out. They would be horrific without him so far this year. So they desperately need him. They desperately need him to stay healthy.
Coming up in 5 minutes, 4 games left. The Cavs don't know who to start, which might be normal for a team in their situation. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Lima likes at 7:45 on The Fan.
the green or takes the top spot, you'll walk away with a $500 gift card courtesy of Windmill Golf Center. More details at 923thefan.com.
Hear Westwood One's coverage of the national championship tonight starting at 7 p.m. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Coming up at 8:20 this morning, the dangerous one, Daryl Ruiter, going to join us on the show, where we have different names being taken at 6. I think you take 6 different people who cover the Browns. They're going to have 6 different names to take at 6. Also, Anthony Kastrovitz going to join us 9 a.m. MLB Network. We'll talk Guardians with him. Lima like 7:45, as well as I think fans' attitudes coming up here in 20 minutes. I think fans' attitudes are about to change here. I think a lot of people do not want this to happen, but I think that they're starting to gain acceptance with it, and I think that they'll eventually not be okay with it, but try to make themselves as comfortable with it as they can. What is it? I will tell you at 6:43. Donovan Mitchell was asked after the Cavs win last night, because there's a lot of things going on with the Cavs. Cavs were terrible in the first half, first quarter, got things going. Indiana's a terrible basketball team. They were able to win in the end. However, Donovan Mitchell was asked a lot about this rotation, about making adjustments to what that they have with their rotations. Here's what he said about chemistry with this team: is they have 4 games left to go until the postseason.
You're seeing it throughout the stretch, trying different things, and I think it obviously may not all look the prettiest, but that's because we haven't had all season with this group, right? So we're trying different things offensively, defensively, trying different lineups, trying to work on things, as well as also get better individually and collectively.
Taking it a step further, and this is something that has kind of been under the radar. We brought it up a couple of times. Here's him talking about, this is Donovan, about adjusting to some of the things that they've had to adjust to after the big trade over the middle of the season with James Harden.
Biggest thing is just you kind of have to expedite those things when you make a trade. 3 new guys, right? 3 core guys to our group, and for me and for us, it's just continuing to better ourselves in every way we can.
Listen, I know I just got done talking about accepting something for another position on another team in this town, and we'll get to that at 6:43. I think that you might need to I've seen some of your social media posts here over the weekend and things like that. I think you're just going to have to accept, because I'm going to have to accept that there's not a lot of faith in this team from the fan base. I think I just need to accept it. I think the sooner we accept it, the easier it is to say that there's challenges to this team laid by its own fan base. You have tried for 2 months. You, who is a cynical person, has tried for 2 months to get people going on this team, and it hasn't worked. So I think you're just going to have to accept. I'm going to have to accept that, yeah, there's a lot of questions to this team where Donovan has to explain why they've had some struggles here and there.
Yeah, well, they've there's no doubt, they have been bit by the injury bug in a big way. They're already a team that's not deep when it comes to a very important position in the NBA, which is the wing. And they haven't been deep with the wings. I think that's a big reason why they've struggled in the playoffs. They just haven't been healthy. And having their 2 defensive wing guys, and one of them, Jalen Tyson, who was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league for a long portion of the season, not having him or Wade. And you saw how important, last time we played the Knicks, you saw how important Dean Wade was, shutting down Jalen Brunson. They haven't had those guys available. So, things fall apart when their perimeter defense has been as rough as it's been. And then they added Max Strus. He's been horrific defensively. Harden's never been a really good perimeter defender. And Donovan Mitchell seems to have gotten worse. And some of that might be just managing his minutes, because he looked awesome yesterday, shifty again, more explosive yesterday offensively. And then defensively, he lets guys drive right around him. I have to think part of that is it's the regular season. It's late March. It's April. So I understand there's a difference between, you told me, but fans just don't have faith in the Cavs. I'm like, well, I talked to Knicks fans. They don't have much faith, and they've had a really good team this year. Mm-hmm. You could go up and down. Detroit fans do not have faith either. That I understand. Nobody has faith in their teams except maybe Boston. And look, Atlanta's been red hot, but are any Atlanta fans, do they have faith in their team? No, we're in the Eastern Conference. Faith is not something that a lot of these fan
I don't think anybody has any faith
in
any of their teams in the Eastern Conference.
Well, the Celtics do, because they've seen their team
Okay.
Win the finals, go to the finals.
That's one.
But that's all you need. One team, in an Eastern Conference where nobody else has faith. However, there's a difference between faith and I'm just going to go into the playoffs assuming the worst and having no excitement levels. That to me makes no sense at all. We're not in a city. We're not Boston. We're not, in some of these cities where you just assume playoffs every year and significant runs. We're not that city. We're never going to be that city. So if you're, you almost have to just pick up and move. If you're not going to have excitement levels on a team going to the playoffs. I said the same thing about the Guardians last year. People were poo-pooing the Guardians and their miraculous erasing of 15 and a half games in the division. Who cares once they get to the postseason? Who cares? I'm sorry, I can't ever operate that way in this city. We're in Cleveland. I don't know what to tell people. We don't have this historical dominance in the playoffs. Outside of the LeBron years, we do not have this incredible, year after year, you can just assume these teams are going to go deep. I don't know where people think they are. Did you wake up and you were in Los Angeles?
A couple of things. I do think that some are protecting their feelings, which is an old Lima trick. I think that they're trying to keep their expectations low, and so I think they're hoping for. They're not hoping for the worst. They're hoping for the best, but they're expecting the worst. I think there's a lot of people expecting them to actually get bounced in the first round, which is nuts to me. But I think they're protecting their feelings.
Series are going to be pretty big favorites in?
I understand that.
That's weird to me.
But I think that they are protecting their feelings considering what's happened over the last 3 years. So I actually, to that level, I can actually understand.
4 of the 5 best players in a series against Atlanta. I'm supposed to be worried?
Listen, I know this. But
okay, you're going to have to explain that one to me.
I'm just giving you the reactions that I've had here over the last week or so that have had a lot of people.
Did they tell you why? Could they mention any of the Hawks?
No.
So it's just us.
No, it's not. It's fans. It's fans.
I'm not going to put a lot of credibility in that when the fans can't tell me the people on the other team.
They will tell you.
I'm sorry, that's not going to pass.
They'll tell you Jalen Johnson, and they will tell you.
Will they tell me Jalen Johnson?
No, they won't.
I think there are hosts on the station who didn't know who Jalen Johnson was 2 weeks ago. And now they're telling me we should be afraid of them.
Actually, I don't think that they will tell you Jalen Johnson. I don't know why I said that. They're not going to tell you anybody. No. I think you got a better chance of getting Daryl Dawkins than you do him. What? Okay, I thought you had something to say. Because, am I wrong? I'm not wrong on that. You know what? I do take it back. They're not going to know who he is. But I think that they are protecting their feelings. 1, because of that. 2, there has not been much defense played. Now, I've just assumed that once the playoffs start here after Sunday, they're going to play defense. That's my assumption. I'm going on the veterans. I'm going on one guy's 36, one guy's 30. They're going to play defense. They're going to show up and play defense there when the postseason starts. Now, that might be me trusting them too much. I think a lot of fans do. But I think that this is just something that I have to get used to. I have to adjust myself to, and that's what it is. Because I got to tell you, there hasn't been a whole lot that I think that normally they can hold on to. 1, if we're talking about playoff matchups, a lot of people think that that's soft behavior or scared behavior, trying to figure out which matchup you want, even though we saw Indiana do it last year.
They also won yesterday. They didn't sit their starters in the fourth quarter. But there's 4 games left, and they are one game separates them and the Knicks. They didn't tank yesterday's game. They had a lot of guys out because they have a back-to-back. They have Memphis tonight?
Yeah.
But they didn't do that.
More on Memphis coming up in a bit.
I could have made a pretty big argument that they probably should have lost last night.
But 1 is defense. 2 is what I just said to you, matchups. 3, I think, is rotations where we don't really know. They've had how many different starting lineups have we had? 33 this year?
I think it's
is it 33?
I think it's more than that.
Is it second most in the NBA?
I lost count after 30. I got to be honest with you. I know we got to 30. Are we at 33 or 34? How many different rotations have we had? So if you don't know necessarily the starting lineup and guys keep getting banged, I mean, Max Strus ended up hurting his wrist last night. And I know that the x-rays came back negative, and that's great, but you have a guy who just got over a foot injury, missed the first 67 games of the season, now has a wrist injury. And I know is not a great defensive player, but can still add on with offense, and a guy that fans know.
I think it's pretty obvious why they've been bad defensively. They've been without either Allen or Mobley, and then Jalen Tyson, Dean Wade. Those are their best defensive players. So most teams, if you eliminate their 3 best defensive players during huge stretches of the season, they're probably going to take a step back defensively. What I do know is if they have Allen and Mobley and they get Tyson and Wade back for the playoffs, like they're going to be a better defensive team.
Yes.
Like that, I would be shocked to see a team like that with that profile be bad defensively.
So with 4 games left, what am I doing with my starting 5 right now? Like, what is my rotation for my starting 5? Against Atlanta, what am I thinking of right now?
Well, I do think that this kind of declaration, or it seems like the anointing of Max Strus in the starting lineup. And again, I know people say, well, it doesn't matter who you start, so you finish. Whatever. They can do that situationally.
I like him more than Keon Ellis.
They
like him more than Keon.
Right. None of these are perfect players, so it's not an easy, and it could be matchup based depending on which team. Like Atlanta has got athletes. That is one thing they do have. And if you trot out Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and Max Strus defensively for big portions of that, I mean, you are going to get out athletic.
Yes.
You're going to have issues with your perimeter defense because Strus is like a step slow than he typically is, and he was already kind of an average defender. And now he's been another one. They all seem to be like traffic cones on the perimeter defensively.
I know that this is bizarre for you and frustrating for you, and I know you're getting sick of telling them. I think we're just going to have to accept it that there's not a whole lot of trust with this team, with any of these things that they're doing here going into a postseason. It's explainable.
No,
it's frustrating to you, but it sounds like a giant excuse to them.
I am not fighting back at that. Maybe the issue is I watch the rest of the Eastern Conference, and maybe these fans don't. So I can't find a lot of fans that have faith in their teams too. So to me, doesn't that kind of cancel each other out?
It should.
And then you go with the teams that have the talent advantage.
It should.
And I feel like the Cavs will have a talent advantage against Atlanta in the first round if that's who they meet. And then if they get Detroit in the second round, I love that matchup. I absolutely love that matchup.
What's frustrating for me is I've agreed with you basically every step of the way. So I'd love to pick a fight with you if I can, but I feel this. I feel basically the exact same way you do. I don't understand why the negativity towards this team. There's history there that I guess I can understand to some level, and I think people are protecting their feelings. But with everything else, it's like, man, we treat this team like they're Indiana, like they're an 18-win team.
I asked last week how many teams. It was tough to get real answers because people know that they're going to lose an argument here with me if they're going to engage on this. But I asked all the haters, I'm like, tell me the amount of teams in the NBA that you would rather be in these playoffs than the Cavs. And one of those teams just got bounced, the Lakers. A lot of you said the Lakers. They look like they've been bounced. You wouldn't rather be the Lakers right now than the Cavs.
Oklahoma
so what
City
are we
and
down
Boston.
to? We down to 3 teams that you'd rather beat? San Antonio.
You put San Antonio in there. I put Oklahoma City and Boston.
Maybe you'd say Denver. By the way, we beat Denver, month ago. But they would say Denver because they have Jokic, but then they're in the Western Conference. So would you really rather be Denver?
216-474-0092. 40 minutes away. Not many of you know how big a holiday today is, and that's just the way they want it. Lima had to do some explaining yesterday on the West Side, and I really think fans' attitudes on the Browns QB situation is going to change pretty quickly after we hear some audio from Nathan Zagura coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
It's Anthony.
roofing and exterior solutions you can trust.
Is your roof ready for April rain? Call us now and get 50% off materials with no payments till 2027, plus free gutters. Call Home Genius Exteriors now at 855-U-R-GENIUS. See website for details.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Zach Jackson from The Athletic. He wrote in an article over the weekend, it's clear the Browns' best and likely preferred option in the draft is to trade down from either 6 and or 24 in hopes of adding at least one additional second-day pick in either 2026 or 2027. It's unable. Cleveland would likely be able to deal, which would acquire an extra 2027 first-rounder. Said if they can't find a trade partner, Zach is saying that they're going to take Carnell Tate. Are you happy with Carnell Tate before we go on to this audio here?
Yeah, I just because I wanted an offensive lineman so desperately, and then it kind of became obvious that it was going to be a force.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is tough because you don't know who's going to be available by the time you get to that second first-round pick, and you certainly don't want to go empty-handed, and you don't want to get like the 8th best offensive lineman in this draft or anything like that. But I think you'd be okay with Tate. I don't think he's a total elite game-changer wide receiver. You know, if this were most drafts, I don't think he would ever be considered top 10 or anything like that. But in this draft, I think you'd walk away pretty excited.
I would think that you're not going to get hammered for taking Carnell Tate. There might be some people who are haters out there because there's always going to be contrarians. But I think everybody would go, okay, Carnell Tate. Like when we go ripping on picks later on in life, it's like I remember the fights of Tristan Wirfs when they took Jed Wills. Like, I do remember that. I can't see, it would be revisionist history to me if they were to take Carnell Tate and then 5 years later, well, you could have had some. No. I think a lot of people are just fine. We'll take Carnell Tate. We'll take ourselves a good wide receiver. He's a player that can really help this football team, obviously. He's a day one starter. He walks out there in the field from the first session that they have as a number one wide receiver, and then they move on. Like, you can make all you want to about T. Higgins. I got to go by the draft I have. And so this is the draft I have. Carnell Tate seems to be a pretty decent move, and it's obviously you could make an argument for best player available, even though you could say, well, Jeremiah Love, but it also meets need. It also means something that you need something terribly. I think, though, that there's another part to this. Whoever Carnell Tate ends up having thrown to him, because I think eventually the tide is going to turn. You know, they have workouts starting on Tuesday, tomorrow, and I think that's when this really begins, this quarterback conversation. Look, we've had all the hearsay and all the other stuff here. I think that that's when this really begins, because you hear Jimmy Haslam speak about it. Let's hear Jimmy on this is Cleveland Browns weekend. This aired over the weekend right here on The Fan. Here's the owner of the Browns on Deshaun Watson.
It's not for lack of effort, okay? I mean, I don't think anybody in our organization would question his effort, his toughness, everything he's put in the job. The reality is he's had major injuries, right? He broke his shoulder, tore his Achilles tendon twice, so he's been really ravaged by injuries, and that, along with the 11-game suspension, have kept him from playing. Now, Deshaun has a great chance, fresh start, offensive-minded coach, who has, in his past, been able to work with all kinds of different quarterbacks and make them successful. So Deshaun has a great chance to do that now. We talked to him the other day. He said he weighed the least he had, least he had in several years, was in great shape. He'll be here on April 7th when we start, and let's see what Deshaun can do. We're all excited.
Now, here's Nathan Zagura on Cleveland Browns weekend explaining some conversations that were had apparently during the league meetings last week involving Jimmy Haslam, explaining a few things. Nathan appears on Fridays leading up to the draft and during the season. Here's Nathan Zagura on what Jimmy may or may not have said about Deshaun Watson. Listen closely.
It is being made out as though Jimmy Haslam said he was a swing and a miss, but we think he can be a home run. He never said those words. Home run never came out of his mouth. He never said anything. So he's getting, and people on social media are running with that. And it's because Mary Kay's title says, can Deshaun Watson go from a swing and a miss to a home run? And she basically uses a baseball analogy throughout the article. Jimmy Haslam never said that he's going to go from a swing and miss to a home run. He said he's got a great chance and a fresh start with Todd Monken. I said there's a lot of quarterbacks who it seems to be the theme of the NFL who either started, did not start well, and take the Super Bowl route. And what a great story that is for Sam Darnold. Deshaun started great in the year before we signed him. He was the second best quarterback in the NFL. Suspension, injuries all piled up. Can he come back from that? He certainly has the ability at one point, and we're cautiously optimistic. But he never used that's going to go from a swing and miss to a home run.
There has been a lot of hysteria here over the last few weeks, and I've been hysterical myself. I think what they're trying to do is that there is a runway here for as open a competition as they can make. Now, I still think that the franchise, the owner, I think that the front office, the business people, I think that they would still like Shedeur Sanders to be the starting quarterback going into this year. However, I think that there's also the opening up of a possibility of Deshaun Watson starting the season there. And as crazy as it's been, I do think that a Browns fan will look at it and start to open their mind as this offseason goes on, if Deshaun Watson ends up being the starting quarterback, that they might, okay, there's no Kevin, maybe we can kick the tires one more time and see if we can squeeze anything out of him. I think a lot of Browns fans want something to look forward to.
Isn't it funny that we have to put terminology under the microscope? That's how much people don't want Deshaun Watson.
I understand.
To play. By the way, I
think
realize
that's
every
true
time,
right now.
Now, I will say every time me and you have said nobody wants to see Deshaun Watson, I do see the chatter pick up. Like, you haven't talked to me. There are fans.
Yeah.
I think they are a very, very segmented few compared to the rest of the fan base, because I think mentally most Browns fans have moved on. Even me. I mean, I'm somebody who wanted Deshaun Watson in a big way, and I've mentally moved on. The Browns tearing the signage down of Deshaun Watson from the stadium and acting like he never existed to begin with.
Well, I think they wanted us to move on.
And the start of the scrubbing of his entire tenure here.
Let's be honest. If they had big plans after the injury that happened against the Bengals a couple years ago, signage doesn't come off the stadium. Signage doesn't come off the building. The names aren't removed from social media. There isn't all that stuff. I think that they're in a position they would rather not be in. I think that they wish that they had somebody that they could put in there and that he's a backup and he's only there because of the contract purposes, and that's it. But they're not. And so now they have to be open-minded. I don't think it's a money issue. Some people have brought up, well, they're paying him too much. This team's paid $16 million for a second-round pick before. They've proven time and time again they do not care about the money issue of it. If you're good enough, they'll play you. It doesn't matter to you. I do think you have a new head coach. You're going to have to keep an open mind. And I think that they're trying to get everybody to open their minds up just a little bit. They understand that his name is not very popular around here. But I think that they're trying to open it up, going, hey, we got to try to do something here. With Todd Monken, we got to try to do something in terms of winning. That's what I think they're trying to do when they open all this up. And I do think that over time, it might not be today, but I do think that here over this short period to come, that some people might go, well, maybe there is something there, because they want something to look forward to. Even myself, if he ended up taking over the job, if they were like, okay, he's a clear-cut number one. All right, let's see. Let's see if we don't need another guy. Probably do, probably will. But let's just see one more time. I do think a lot of people will open up their minds. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, the dangerous one, Daryl Ruiter. I want to ask if he's open-minded towards this, and what Andre Schmidt taught me about what I need to know about the Cleveland Guardians in 2026. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
That doesn't mean they can't be respected. That doesn't mean if you beat them in round 2, it's not an accomplishment. They're just not a top-tier team. That's the difference. They're not up there with the Celtics. They're not up there with the Cavs. They live in this other level where I think the Knicks live in as well. You're a top 10 team in the NBA. That's still a good team.
If they
stink.
If they
you don't stink.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
"45 minutes away from Lima Lakes, and coming up at 7:22, there's a special thing about today. Today is a holiday, and you might not know about it, and I think that might be exactly how they want it over there at Gordon Square. More on that coming up at 7:22. 216-474-0092. Let me just ask this. If you're getting a jersey for your kid, and let's throw all 3 teams in there, is it not a DeLauter jersey? I asked that on social media. A lot of people got social media reactions brought to you by
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
A lot of people got in and said Jose, and I said, well, I mean, Jose's been here 14 years. Today is the day he breaks the record for games played as an Indian/Guardian. He's been here 14 years. I just assume a lot of fans have something of Jose.
Right.
Like jersey.
Especially with all the giveaways at the stadium.
Bobblehead, regular jersey, the whole thing. Like something of his seems to be given away every single year. And so you probably have something. But when it comes to, like, if you're a jersey person or you're getting a jersey for your kid, like, I got to tell you, Axel's birthday's in June. He ain't up to hear this right now because he ain't going to school. They ain't going to school today. He's getting a DeLauter jersey, is he not? Am I not getting him a Chase DeLauter jersey?
Well, by June, if the Cavs are in the NBA Finals,
he's still getting a DeLauter jersey.
And James Harden has had the playoffs of his life. I mean, they made it to the NBA Finals.
He's okay, but he would have been here for 4 months.
They could be up 2-0 in the series.
Well, the
by
only
the
thing I
time
would say
his
about
birthday
Harden is at least you're getting a guaranteed Hall of Famer. But no, I mean he's only going to be here this stretch run next year. And then who knows? Because
I'm
James
playing
Harden's track
devil's
record.
advocate on that.
Of course you are.
But
Of course.
I think his only counts if they make some huge playoff stretch. I mean, there are people that have Shaq Cavs jerseys too.
Yeah,
he didn't do anything.
Well, but I think that those folks are adults. Like I think a lot of those, like when Zach Meisel does the random Indians jerseys, like I think some of that's kind of either they're a family member, they had some fun, they found one at a discount, whatever it might be. Like I think that's kind of like you bought a Shaquille O'Neal Cavs jersey. You're probably a big Shaquille O'Neal fan beforehand. That jersey's probably very, 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 very old by now, and it's probably worn and faded a little bit. I'm just pointing out, like. I don't remember the last time I've seen this type of fever for a new player, for a rookie.
Not one that we had a actual expectation for. Like Stephen Kwan was great when he came up, but who was even talking about him before he came out and he hit 400 to start his career?
Well, Ladder was even saying, like, you go back to years and years and years ago, this is heresy to say this about Jose Ramirez. There was a point he was out of options.
Yes.
And, like, he had to make the team as, like, a right fielder or something like that to make, or left field or
second
outfielder.
base in the playoffs one year when Kipnis got hurt.
Yeah. Like, that's what makes him, I think that's what kind of makes him a special story. It wasn't like he was a Paul Skeens number 1 overall. Like, there was a lot of people who did not think very highly of Jose Ramirez, and now he's a first ballot Hall of Famer to us. He's at least a Hall of Famer to everybody else. Like, this guy is the face of the franchise and the most beloved player in all of Cleveland with all 3 major teams. But if you were going to buy a jersey right now, I mean, I just got to say it. I think it ends up being chased. I can't say any. I don't want to think about the possibilities realistically of why I wouldn't get him a jersey for Chase DeLauter coming up on June 12th. Even though his birthday is June 13th, I should say. Coming up in mid-June. Like, I don't think that there's going to be anything getting in my way. Other than what I get for my youngest son, because his birthday's in May. So maybe I get him a DeLauter jersey, and then I get the other one a DeLauter jersey. I don't know how that one goes.
That's a lot of DeLauter.
That's a lot of DeLauter in the Carman household right there.
I mean, has he been loving the DeLauter experience?
Yeah.
Is he all in?
Well, because
at their age, they have the attention span to watch these games?
Because when you hear your dads, and it's not just me, like his buddies, and they all play baseball. He doesn't now, but all his buddies play baseball. And if their dads are talking about Chase DeLauter and these home runs that he's hitting, and it almost becomes something of folklore. Like, yeah, then they're interested in seeing him. He wants to see him when he comes up to the plate. Everybody's singing Country Roads every time he steps up there. Like, It's a big damn deal. Jose's Jose. Jose's the gold standard. It's no disrespect. But if you were getting a new jersey right now, it's got to be Chase DeLauter. It might be James Harden, like you said. Might be him. Is there anybody with the Browns? You're not getting a Shedeur number 2 jersey over a DeLauter number 24 right now. No.
I bet you there's a contingent that would. They're probably in our YouTube comments. I bet you they would.
Well, then they're okay. Then those folks aren't Cleveland fans, is what you're. I'm talking to Cleveland fans.
Well, I think they're Cleveland fans as long as Shedeur Sanders is starting quarterback.
I'm talking to Cleveland fans who were there before, after, during Shedeur Sanders being quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Like, one guy I see playing for your baseball team, as long as he stays healthy.
Now, let me
a good long while.
I will say, the minute they draft the Ohio State wide receiver,
yes,
I think that could be an instant purchase.
I mean, a Cardinal Tate number 17 jersey is probably going to go flying off the shelves. You're right about that. But I think as of right now,
just because it's a football town, I could see that. I could see that eclipsing, DeLauter, unless DeLauter just goes and hits, 45, 50 bombs this year, then it would tilt right back.
Well, it's true. You know what? I can only see Carnell Tate being the only one to break. Like Shedeur, I think the number 12s. I think there will be number 12s. I think he's got to go out and he's got to win the job and then play well for there to be a bunch of number 2s in the stadium, okay? When it comes to, you're right about Tate. Tate's the only one I could see. Like, if you took Mawanoa or you took it, like, you're not going to, right. Most aren't going to do that until they actually become something there. Jeremiah Love, I think, is a fine football player. I don't think it'd be a very popular pick. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Jeremiah Love jerseys out there. Not as many as DeLauter.
Yeah, but that could be something people gravitate towards.
I don't think you're going to see as many as what you're going to see with DeLauter. I just think that he's the guy. Can I share something with you here? My history with the Browns has started to change how I feel about the Guardians a little bit and their situation with Cade Smith. Like, I know I'm the first one, like, oh, well, you always got to watch when you have a closer. I just think we're in this situation where, like, Peyton Pallette, it's too early to talk about him as a closer right now. Cade Smith seemed to be the guy that you are going to have to be the heir apparent for that closer role. You didn't know it was all going to go like that with Emmanuel Clase the way it went, but I think a lot of us eventually were thinking it might be Cade Smith.
Well, I'm just saying, go back to last year before the trade deadline, because the Clase thing happened like the week after the trade deadline.
Okay.
Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, the majority of people were ready to trade Clase for a bat because they said, well, we got Cade Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cade Smith can step into that role. And now there seems to be a lot of people, very nervous, and probably rightfully so when he goes out and he threw, 33 pitches yesterday? Like, he's throwing a lot of pitches for a closer, especially he came out and got his first 2 outs pretty quick. And then
Friday looked pretty good, and then he gives up the single, and you're like, don't do this. Come on. And then it ended up being fine, but he gives up a hit, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, don't, come on. Don't do this. Just let's get through it. But I think if Andre Schmidt taught me anything, and I know it's a different sport, but if Andre Schmidt taught me anything, it's like, hey, I can't really go freaking out over early season jitters over a closer that, he's going to have to develop into the closer role. As much as you hate it, it's a zero-sum game. You can either do it or you can't. You can either close these games out or you can't. And the Guardians are not a team, as they get some of the offense worked out, like I think we're fine with a couple of people. I want to see the frost get away from the field before I go judging on Manzardo, before I go ripping on Stephen Kwan, even though I know his second half of the season wasn't good last year. Before I go ripping on those guys, I want to see how they shake the cobwebs out of the early part of the season. We go through the ebbs and flows of the weather. If I can do that with them, why can't I do that with Cade Smith? I know, again, they're not a team that can afford to give up many saves, all right? They're not offensively capable of doing that still. But if I'm going to do that with those hitters, and I'm over here giving arguments for, hey, maybe we're being a little bit too hard on Gabi Arias because his name's not Travis Bazzana, and I think people want to see the next big thing, even though, again, they'll tell you bat speed and all these other things, the possibility for power and production are all there with Gabi Arias. Why wouldn't I say that then for Cade Smith? I know it's the highest leverage situation you can find, but I think I'm going to have to be a little bit patient. Like, if he blows one this week, I know a lot of people are going to be upset, and I'm going to probably have to talk some people down off the ledges. And this is coming from me. And Owen knows I'm notoriously short with closers. It's just how I am.
But I think most people are in today's
I'm just trying to
baseball.
be reasonable here.
So many guys, so many teams just cycle through these guys over the course of, 2 to 3 years, it's like, all right, well, one guy lost it. Now we're on to the next one already. And so I've seen people already, kind of scouting the depth chart and down to the minors. I've seen people mention like Espino because he throws hard, even though he's thrown so little because of the injuries. Like this is just the state of affairs unless you have a dominant closer.
Coming up in 5 minutes, Lima's got to. Lima had to explain somebody one of the most sacred holidays in Cleveland, Ohio. The problem is this person is from Cleveland, and if they pull his name out of that hat coming up on April 23rd, you're going to have a lot of unhappy people. I want to know why this guy is a bad pick, and you cannot just say because of the position. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, Daryl Ruiter, 820 on The Fan.
championship game in Phoenix on Sunday. UCLA beats South Carolina 79-51. Bruins won their first national title in women's basketball. UCLA finished up the season at 37-1. The men's title games tonight at Indianapolis. UConn takes on Michigan. Be sure to catch the game tonight at 7 o'clock. Coverage starts right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
You got to tell me why this is so bad in about 8 minutes. Lima had one of the most horrific weekends, holiday weekends, I think you've ever had in your life yesterday. You were sending us pictures, Keith and I pictures, of the Lima family at church for Easter Sunday. It became a disaster. You guys had to watch on YouTube. You had to go home.
Yes. We ended up streaming the last 20 minutes.
What's that chat room like?
Of course, that mass is still going on as we speak. Oh, who should be leading the mass? The big debate.
I don't know if I've ever been to an Easter Catholic Mass. How long is an Easter Catholic Mass?
They vary. I mean, yesterday
I've been at just about everything else. I don't know if I've been to Easter Catholic.
Yesterday was legitimately an hour 25, hour 27.
Oh, that is long. That is long.
I looked around. I scanned. I saw Tom Arth was in there. I saw David Jenkins of the Browns. He was in there.
Wait a minute. Are you just going to this church because it's people watching here? Or are you going to church to get some salvation?
The West Side. I don't know. I don't know what it would look like.
Song.
It's a who's who over there in Westlake.
Owen got that. It's just good business. It must be a who's who. Well, if you were there, you would have been part of the who's who. You'd have been part of the ones they look at. So how many of your family members were in town yesterday? Well, I mean, her family members, your family.
Well, no, just
they're inherited.
Technically, one's on the run still, so I don't know if that's.
It's just the family that basically me, my wife, the two kids, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and my wife's sister. That's it. So small gathering.
Today is the day, right? I'm not being thrown off. Is today the holiday?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we sure about this?
Yes, I'm positive. I'm working a hockey game tonight in which we are also celebrating.
I just wanted to make sure because I'm like, because I started to talk myself out of it as I started to set you up for this. Your wife is from here.
Mm-hmm.
Her sister is from here.
Yes.
They lived here in their formative years. And you had to explain Dingus Day to the sister-in-law.
Yeah, she had never heard of it. And she saw one of the news stories about it, like, hey, they're getting ready, Gordon Square, West Side, near West Side neighborhoods. They're going to have the trolley or the bus, the shuttle, going from community to community, rounding people up. And she saw footage of last year. She says, what is this? And so I had to explain to her. And you realize when you're explaining Dingus Day to someone who's never heard of it, and you start talking about pussy willows and water guns, I think they start to ask questions, and I kind of get it. I
could understand if she was like, I'm from Canton, and if she were from Canton, I could understand her not knowing. There's certain things but Dingus Day, hasn't it been going on for a while here?
But it's really taken on kind of its current form. Has been about a decade.
Years, yeah.
And she wasn't living in Cleveland the last decade.
So, I'm sorry, because I only remember Kenny going to Dingus Day, and I'm sure he's going to be there today, our old producer. But I've only known of this to be a pretty big gathering of people over there at Gordon Square. You say, how long has it been going on and how long has it been a big deal? You said 10 years. How long has it been going on?
It's been going on longer than that.
Certainly has.
But it's taken on its current form. It's been a decade. It's like quadrupled in popularity.
Yes.
In that time.
And are they charging? You said they're charging to get in?
Yeah, the one area where there's all the music, basically the pictures that you will see online, that area with the stage and everything, they charge admission.
Have you ever had the idea to go down there?
You know what? I kind of went around it when I was living in Tremont, and there was still stuff going on in Tremont. And then in Ohio City, there are pockets, but it's all kind of migrated to that area. So I've never been in the thick of it.
I've never been there for it. I think I was with Kenny when I dropped him off or picked him up, one of the two. But this was years and years and years ago for the Dingus Day thing.
You were running Dingus shuttles?
I might have been running a Dingus shuttle at one point because all the festivities start like right after the show, basically. So it was like, all right, drop me off. Like that was about as much as I remember of the Dingus Day celebration. It is a big deal. It's become a bigger deal here over time.
So Buffalo's the largest.
Yes.
Yeah. Where else is it even done?
I don't think it's. I think it is quintessentially us and Buffalo, and that's about. Maybe I imagine there's something in Chicago. I imagine there's something in Milwaukee. Am I wrong?
No,
I'm just looking for Great Lakes cities that are, you know what I mean, would have an extensive population of those.
Okay, I just looked up Chicago. It said Chicago's first Dingus night celebration of Polish culture. And it was written 4 days ago. So are they?
Is this their first?
Are they leeching on to it now? And it's because they obviously have the Polish community.
Well, yeah, but
in Chicago.
They do, and we also have a very large contingent of people who go from Cleveland to Chicago all the time. Or we have listeners in Chicago, and maybe they found out about Dingus Day, and somebody got a bug to go, well, why don't we have a Dingus Day here? We might as well have ourselves a Monday celebration after Easter. Wouldn't that be the prudent thing to do? I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just found it funny that this is a quintessentially Cleveland Buffalo thing. And your sister-in-law, who is from here, you guys are inner ring people, like Cleveland people. And she didn't know or did not remember anything about Dingus Day and had to have this explained to the point she thought you guys were making it up.
She thought it was totally made up based on what we were saying.
It looks like cities that do it: Buffalo, Cleveland, Macedon, New York. Don't know where that is.
Vaunted celebration, yes.
South Bend,
Indiana.
Yep. Pine Creek, Wisconsin, and of course, Pasadena, California.
Well, I mean, if you're talking roses and pussy willows and things like that, I guess that's fish in a barrel.
But I think it
Pasadena's a little.
I think it speaks to just what this has become over the last decade. That I bet you there's a lot of people, if they were not living in Cleveland, would not know about Dingus Day.
That's what makes it special, though, is it's very Cleveland. The only thing I was surprised is that she's from Cleveland, like she's born here. That
was one of the things when John moved here, and we said, things you got to do in Cleveland. Dingus Day was one of those things that he needed to do. He's got time.
Do I have to drop him off at Dingus Day?
Let's take him.
I'm not taking him home. So he can find his own ride home. As long as he's in here in the morning, he can do whatever he wants to. He's of drinking age. He could drink the Polish beer. I'm not sure what it is. Can I give you an explanation here? I got to fight this out a little bit. Coach Lance was with us last week. You and I were on a bunch of different stuff on Friday because it was home opener and all the other things. I'm not trying to pick a fight with everybody, and I know we got Lima Likes at 7:45, so let me just ask this now. Can you guys really explain to me why Jeremiah Love is such a difficult decision to make or why he'd be such a horrific pick? Can we answer that question?
I mean, I tried to at the end of last week. I just don't think we're in any position to go back-to-back running backs early, not to mention we drafted 2 running backs last year, on a team that's expected to be pretty bad. It just seems, and we also saw a running back get crushed last year behind the line to the point where he even got injured, and we're wondering what version of the running back we're going to get this year.
He got crushed. He got injured catching a pass out of the backfield.
I know, but I'm saying he
wasn't like he got hurt back there.
But he got annihilated behind the line of scrimmage last year. And I just don't think bad teams taking a running back, which is typically a luxury pick. I just don't think they're in any position to do that.
My issue is this.
I think that would be very questionable.
But I don't think, I got to poke holes in this. I want to know from people why it'd be such a bad decision. It's not the decision I would make. Like if Carnell Tate was there at number 6, I'm basically at a point where I'm like, okay, let's see what Carnell Tate has, because I don't like the conversation about Monroe Freeling or Caden Proctor up at number 6. It startles me. I just don't want to do that.
Have you seen a mock where Tate isn't available at 6? I have not.
I really haven't. Well, no. I think I saw an athletic one from Feldman. I think he might have had Tate going number 5 overall.
Feldman?
Bruce Feldman.
Oh, Bizarro Kramer.
Sorry, no. Whole names are important at this time of year. I thought I saw a mock where Bruce Feldman had him at number 5 overall. So that would take him away. The only thing, I'm not trying to be difficult. I promise you guys this. When Jeremiah Love's name was first brought up, I barely did anything on it just because I didn't think there was going to be any chance that they'd take him. So I'm with you guys. But the more I see him, the more I'm going, well, what makes him such a bad pick? If I got 2 guys out there and I can split him out, I can do things. I can load him up extra out of the Y spot if I want to. I can do a lot of things there where I can throw the ball to him. Lance talked about him as a Marshall Faulk type figure, okay? Coach Lance did. That speaks to us. If I have a really good running back out there that I can split, that's fine. The thing I don't like about this, if you were just saying, well, Kenny, if Carnell Tate's there, I'm taking Carnell Tate. Perfectly fine with me. You need a wide receiver. He's a really good wide receiver. It's fish in a barrel. But if he's not there, and I can't force you to trade up with me. Now, there might be somebody who wants to trade up, but you're not going to get very much back because it's not that great of a thing. So why can't I just examine it thinking he's exceedingly good, he has been extremely productive, running backs are more important than they've been in recent years because of the quarterback play being so difficult. I think regardless of who plays quarterback for our team going up this year, they're going to struggle to some certain degree. They want some more people that they can trust. Yes, I think that you would have a box loaded up, but if I split them out once, then I'm going to have to be able to, if I'm a defense, I'm going to have to be more honest with everybody instead of all the other things that we've talked about before. Like, the more I look at Jeremiah Love and I see the talent that's there, I see the possibilities that's there, the argument where I don't like taking running backs 2 years in a row, and that's 3 running backs in 2 years, I understand that would make sense, except this isn't a typical draft. And if he's the best guy there at number 6 and nobody's willing to make a trade up with me, then I'm stuck just taking the best player.
So I think it's more likely they would have a team trade up with the Browns if Love was available than the Browns to take Love.
I would love that, yes. And I think that would probably be the most prudent thing.
But see, you just made a case to take him. Why are you trading out of it
Because I can't guarantee. Well, again, what if the team that's willing to trade up isn't willing to give me value for the trade because it's a bad draft? Going, you want out of this spot, you want us to take him, we're not going to give you everything that you want, and we're the only trade partner that you have, which is something that could possibly happen. I just have to be ready for all possibilities. If we're sitting there saying trade down, that's great. I need somebody to trade down with, Anthony. That's what I'm pointing out.
Yeah,
if I don't have anybody to trade down with.
I've seen people talk about the Cowboys,
am I going to take a need over?
I've even seen Pittsburgh rumored as a trade-up team.
Pittsburgh's drafting at 21,
right?
So they're going to trade up to 6.
That's the problem. You've got to take into consideration, too.
For a running back?
Now, you're not going to be picking until
21 and 24, but I don't think a team from 21 is going to, the Steelers even, I don't think the Steelers are going to trade up to number 6 for a running back. If they do, if you really like him that much, then I want full possibilities for everything that's valuable. I want full value for that trade. The only argument that I really hate, I can understand. You have a running back there, you need a wide receiver, I can understand that. I can understand even some of the value stuff out of running back. I can understand us being burned out of it. The 2-year thing, I just don't want to be talked into taking a need over a player that I think is going to be dynamite, that is going to be a very good football player for my football team for the next 7-8 years. Like, if I can guarantee you 7-8 years out of Jeremiah Love where I can't Francis Mauigoa or Spencer Fano or got Monroe Freeling or anyone else, why am I making the decision so hard just because I have need? That's what
it's not just
I don't
any
like
need.
Pigeonholing it.
It's not just any need. Offensive line, especially left tackle, is like one of the preeminent needs in football.
And so I force a guy who just
sports.
because he comes from the pedigree of being a left tackle, I force him in number 6.
It's because you have totally been caught with your pants down in this situation based on what you haven't done over the last 4 years. That you've had to completely overhaul that offensive line, and it's like, all right, if I'm not taking offensive line, and then again in this situation, you're also not taking receiver at number 6. So who the hell is going to be left at those positions by the time you get down to? I mean, you almost would have to trade back up.
I understand
in that situation
but
from your next first round pick.
It's not my fault that we've been caught with our pants down over the left tackle position. And again, if I'm going to take a player,
it's just a reality.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not about whose fault it is. It's just I'm looking and going, who the hell is going to be left?
So why do I
at the end of the first round?
Why do I lean into it and double down and possibly make a bad situation worse by taking a guy just based on need at number 6 overall?
See, but
I could take a really great football player for me.
I think that's the problem. Is your situation is so desperate where you're almost left with no other choice than to either address wide receiver or left tackle at number 6. Because if you don't, you're letting the rest of the NFL dictate who's going to fall to you at the end of the first round. I think that would be very, very dangerous because we all came into this year saying, all right, that will be addressed there at number 6, and not addressing it and then going with a running back the year after you took. People will be looking at the Browns going, what was the plan of attack these last 2 years?
My plan of attack is to find a good football player. That's my plan of attack.
That's what every team
says
at
any
every
good
pick.
football player.
And that you could wave the magic wand at any draft pick you take at all times and go, well, we just want a good football player.
But you think
the reality is you have a desperate need at 2 pretty important positions.
I understand that, but you think it's a better decision. You think it's a better decision to just take a guy based on need and force him to play before he's ready to play? I think that's a terrible decision.
Need at left tackle and wide receiver when you have these gaping holes. that if you ignore it again, I think that's a very, very poor choice.
On the surface, I agree.
And
but
then
if
you said you'd trade out of it if somebody wanted Jeremiah Love.
But I
so
can't guarantee any of this.
Ken is sitting there talking about trading down out of the pick to give Love to somebody else, and then now you're yelling at me that you want Love.
No,
make up your mind,
because I want you to have an open mind on this, and I don't understand. So if he happened to play H-back, if he happened to play anything else, then he'd be okay. But just because he's listed as RB in there, where you can split him out, he had 27 catches last year. Just because he has an RB next to him, I cannot consider him at all. He's the one player I can't consider. So I can consider a guy who has very little.
Yeah, it would not make sense to me at 6,
very little
Kenny.
experience in Monroe Freeling. I can consider him at number 6, but I can't consider Jeremiah Love.
It would not make sense to me at 6.
I can't believe you're being so close-minded about it. I really can't. I really, really, really can't. I guess I am trying to be difficult because I just want you to open your mind. I don't know if I'm going to be able to trade out of this spot. Yes, I would like to trade down. I don't know if I want to trade down all the way to 21. I don't think anybody's trading up from 21 to number 6 to take Jeremiah Love. I don't think they're going to do it. So I think we have to be somewhat realistic in this argument here. And I just don't think that we're in any position, because we're so desperate with need, to cross off talent when we don't have any offensive talent.
I don't think we're in any position to take running back at 6. That would be crazy to me.
All right. We'll visit this again. Daryl Ruiter joins us at 8:20 this morning. 216-474-0092. Is LeBron making us defend Cleveland, and we shouldn't have to? It's coming up at Lima Likes and 5 on The Fan.
92.3 The Fan.
Does Lima like?
Or does Lima no like?
Like?
Tell me likey. I'm liking it. I like it a lot.
No like.
He doesn't like you.
I don't like you either.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Like or no like. Like or no like.
But I definitely knew what I liked, and I definitely knew what I didn't like.
All right, well, obviously, we led the show with the Guardians and the fact that they were able to salvage yesterday a game with the bats as cold as it was. So,
Lima likes.
We'll give that to the Guardians. Also, they lost a series yet this year. They 2-0-1.
Yep.
All right. That's all you can do, right? That's all you can ask the Guardians to continue to do. So regardless of the run differential, regardless that they have one of the worst offenses in the league in almost every category, the fact you haven't lost a series so far this year, that's a...
Lima likes.
Also,
Lima likes.
Cavaliers, 117-108 with...
Lima likes.
Donovan Mitchell looking a little more like All-NBA Donovan Mitchell yesterday. He was spectacular with 38 points alongside Harden with another efficient game. 28 in the books. It'll go down to 7 assists. He could have had 20. I mean, he is setting guys up. They are not ready for some of these passes. Larry Nance Jr. finally got some good playing time yesterday. There were 2 balls thrown at him, and he was not ready. I think it sometimes takes guys, they cannot believe the windows that James sees. So you got to be ready immediately in those situations.
I don't think we're going to make very many friends this postseason because I think this team's going to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not sure how well they're going to do against Boston. I know what I penciled in before. I get that. I'll wear it. I'll own it. That's fine. But I'm going to be, if they make the Eastern Conference Finals and they just lose to the Celtics, like I'm going to be a big preacher of keeping the status quo and adding on instead of any of the crazy stuff that I know we're going to hear after this postseason with this team. You could see it bubbling like a cauldron with the fan base.
Well, the only problem is
Lamino likes.
They're right back to, it's a game in the loss column, but because of the tiebreak, you're 2 clear of the New York Knicks right now. And I know people have been talking about the Hawks and trying to avoid the Hawks in the first round. No, I'm trying to avoid Boston in the second round. That is what I'm trying to avoid. And Kenny Atkinson basically admitted it in a press conference. Was it on Friday?
Yes.
Or whatever, he admitted it. So because of
Folks
that,
got mad.
The organization is definitely looking to provide the clearest path to make the deepest run possible. Look, if they just lose to Atlanta in the first round, then it was all moot anyway. It's a team that then all the haters will be right.
Can I make an argument that Indiana took advantage of seeding last year? They were a terrible
100%.
matchup for us to the point Brad Daugherty was kind of like, didn't want to say what he was really thinking, but he kind of led us there and let us make the assumptions.
And they got to avoid the Boston Celtics.
Exactly.
Nobody would have picked them against Boston.
If they can take advantage of it, why can't I take advantage of it? Why can't I try to make the best matchup for it? I know we're all afraid they're going to get bit in the ass, but I feel, hey, let's make the best of this matchup and let's see where we go. And I still think it's the same. There's 2 teams that I would rather have their rosters than ours. You would throw San Antonio in there. Admirable. I'm not there yet. I'll throw in Oklahoma City. I'll throw in Boston. That's it. That's still very, very good.
Meanwhile, look, I've always said that I want our athletes speaking honestly, and that's what LeBron James did over the weekend, igniting a firestorm with one city in particular.
At 41 years old, you think I want to do that being in Memphis on a random-ass Thursday? I'm not like the first guy to even talk about it in the NBA. Like, we all like, you guys have to move. Just go over to Nashville. You got Vanderbilt over there. You got the NASCAR. You got a stadium. Don't they got a hockey team too?
Yeah, Predators.
Predators. Like they got everything.
Doesn't look like LeBron's going to be on the Grizzlies anytime soon. So Grizzly fans out there.
Yeah, they know. Their only chances in 2003 if they'd have won the lottery to get me there. And I might have pulled a Eli Manning and not showed up.
All right, so he's having some fun out on the golf course. They're all laughing at what LeBron has to say. Why was this such a controversy? I've heard plenty of NBA players say, Memphis. I don't know if Memphis should still have a team. But he responded after all the criticism, and then another city got brought into this. Another 2.
41 years old. There's 2 cities I do not like playing in right now. And that's Milwaukee and that's Memphis. What is the problem? I don't like going home either. And I'm from there. What is people People are ridiculous. They also get mad at my son being on the team, too.
Don't keep us out of it. What's your problem with? Well, why do you got to bring us up?
Now wait, is that us or is he talking
home?
Is he talking Akron? Akron's always been his home.
Rich Paul said he was talking about Akron. So.
Yeah.
Oh, Rich Paul said Akron.
Didn't say Cleveland.
He said he's just outgrown it. He said he loves Akron, but he's just outgrown it. I get that.
Outgrown home.
Well, I don't know how much bigger his house can get there. He'd have to buy 3 more city blocks.
That's in Bath.
To be able to go after that.
That bothers me. Then he's forgotten where he comes from. Then he's forgotten. In Cleveland,
I think you
nothing
can love
is.
a place and never want to go back there again.
That's untrue. That is totally
I
untrue.
live it every day.
I think that's 100% true. The people leave. There are a lot of transplants. The people go because they feel like the opportunities here aren't what they could be elsewhere.
But his whole entire thing, Owen, I don't believe has. You are right. You have no inclination to ever go back to Oklahoma or Mounds, Oklahoma.
Any of Oklahoma.
I haven't heard Owen for the last umpteen years speaking about how Mounds, Oklahoma shaped him and the man he is. You've heard this his entire career about Akron and Cleveland.
I don't know. Maybe if I had been a billion-dollar athlete, maybe I'd say that.
You know what? We're going to...
It's unsettling to me, that's all.
Let's hold that. Maybe it's something we can get to because this has been one of the bigger stories after all of that. Another big story, a war of words for the national semifinal in women's college basketball. And apparently Geno Auriemma stepped in it. I love it. People absolutely hate his guts over it. He got into it with Dawn Staley, the coach of, by the way, friend of the show.
Yes.
And Ken's pen pal.
And you know whose side I'm taking. I'm taking Coach Staley's. I ain't taking his.
Brings it Ken's postmaster.
Hell with him.
Listen to this from the legendary women's basketball coach.
Their coach rants and raves on the sideline and calls the referee some names you don't want to hear. And now we get 6-0, and I got a kid with a ripped jersey, and they go, I didn't see it. Come on, man. This is for the national championship.
Geno has since apologized for these comments in a statement that was issued. In the end, UCLA took the women's basketball crown. We'll get to the men's side where Michigan and UConn will battle tonight.
Used to hear from Pat Summitt all the time how Geno ain't who you think he is, and now this comes out, and there's a lot of people talking about Geno ain't who you think he is, and Coach Staley's come on this show. We are pen pals.
I love them both.
And
I love that
I'm
we
taking
even
her
have
side.
this. I love that we still have this in today's sanitized sports
Everything's
world.
great with Tony. He just loves them both.
He's
so glad to see the fight. Doesn't want to take a side.
No, that's the side is fight. I love the fight. That's what I want.
So whose side do you
between
take?
these two? I've always loved Geno. I mean, Geno is somebody who is still one of those with all the coaches that have left college sports because they don't like NIL. Like these two clearly embrace it. And look, anytime either of these two get in front of a microphone, I mean, people are taking notes. He says there's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina, he said in his statement. But keep going, keep fighting.
Seems to be every single time his mantle is challenged by anybody, he stomps and moans and
he acted
has
like a child.
Problem with it, and he acts like a petulant child.
But you know, she does too.
Clear why Anthony sides with him.
But she does too. She acts like a child on the sidelines if you watch her.
Paisanos! Oh, that's
and
true.
yeah, he has a vowel at the end of his name.
He is from there, right? He was born
he was born.
Yeah. Is that it for Lima Likes?
That's it for Lima Likes.
That was a spirited Lima Likes. I enjoyed that one. Daryl Ruiter in just over 20. You want to get back in this argument again? Like, I didn't like that clip of audio there from LeBron at the end of that. Listen, I'll take him back. Everybody knows we'll take him back. I'm not interested in begging him. I didn't like that. I want to get into a tone coming up in 5 on the Fan. Peter and Company.
Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m.
41 years old. There's two cities I do not like playing in right now. And that's Milwaukee and that's Memphis. What is the problem? I don't like going home either. And I'm from there. What is people are ridiculous. They also get mad at my son being on the team too.
All right, that's LeBron having to explain himself after he ripped Memphis, didn't want to go to Memphis. So he's 41 years old, doesn't want to play in Memphis, doesn't want to play in Milwaukee. Then he asked to explain himself. He doubled down on it and then mentioned what we assume is Akron, actually, and not Cleveland.
Well, that's the debate, right?
All right.
That's always been the debate his whole career about whether he's repping Cleveland or repping Akron when he talks about home.
Daryl Ruiter at 8:20. Now, I'm about to get called a liar here, so you go right on ahead and tell everybody why you're going to call me a liar.
Well, Owen asked the question during the break, like, Ken, would you actually move home? Because you resented some of LeBron's comments about, outgrowing an area. And I'm like, oh, Ken's done with Canton. He's not moving back to Canton or anywhere near Canton. And then you try to weasel out of it by saying, the commute. And I'm like, no, what if you got to work from home? There's no chance in any world that you are moving home.
Same.
What if, for some reason, the Canton station said, you know what? We need the King Carman show with Anthony Lima. We're going to double it up. Would you move down there? Because I'd move down there with you. We'd go.
What, double it up, like double everything, and we just do the show from Canton?
Yeah, and we're on the Canton.
Fine. That's fine. I don't care.
You're doing that, you're moving down to Canton.
As long as he's coming.
Listen to this.
I'm not, what? I'm not going to do it by myself.
You're not moving home.
No, I'm not going to do it by myself. I
think the Carman family has outgrown Stark County.
First off, my family is still from Stark County. Mm-hmm. Second, I live in Portage County. I am one county north of Stark County.
And that one county is a country 1,000 miles.
No, it is not. It is about an hour, okay? I'm in northern, I'm like the weird crossroads of Geauga.
You are closer to Pennsylvania than you are to Canton.
No, I'm not.
It's an hour from Streetsboro to the line to Sharon.
And I'm an hour from Canton. I'm 50 minutes from Canton.
Okay.
They don't make no damn sense.
It's the same. You admitted they were both an hour. It's the same.
You said I was closer. I'm not closer. You said closer.
It's the same.
Okay, sure. Whatever you guys want to tell yourself. I am not hosting a show. I don't like hosting a show. I'll do it if I have to. I don't like hosting a show when I'm not in the same place you are.
No, I know. The whole point is to say.
So what's the problem here?
The whole point is to say that you didn't like that LeBron said he outgrew a town, but I mean that's reality. I think a lot of people outgrow their hometowns.
No.
For whether it is their ambition, whether opportunity, what they're looking for personally.
And
we can't act like every area of the country presents a world of opportunity for every individual.
I understand that.
We can't sanitize it and act like that's the case.
He can't say that. He has a greater responsibility than what I do. If I were to say I'm never going back to Canton, that's no hair off of anybody in Canton's ass. They don't really care. LeBron James is a totally different individual, an icon that represents what you can still do in America. If you were to say you've outgrown Akron or you don't like to go back to Akron, that is a problem. You have forgotten what you represent.
I don't think he's forgotten it. I think he's being totally honest in a way people don't like, that Akron does not present to LeBron James at this stage of his life and of his means. No, he can't get what he needs and wants in Akron, Ohio, or Cleveland, Ohio, or Northeast Ohio. He just can't.
We can all understand that, but from an area that is typically dumped on, which typically where change happens. I always mention this with change. Change happens. It's usually not for the better with a lot of folks from here. I think you got to be a little bit careful about that. Now, I'm not seeing a big uproar of people from Akron who are mad at LeBron this morning. That's not what I'm pointing out. It's just you brought it to my table. I think it's apples and oranges. Okay, what we both do is public. One guy does it at a much higher level, and people aspire to be LeBron James or have a life like LeBron James. No one's aspiring to be you or me. So I think it's a total difference there. But I think it's the same way with a lot of people who seem to be owned by their area. I mean, there's people who have bad feelings. Anytime we mention Drew Carey on this show, we will get people on the phones cussing at Drew Carey. It's like, well, he hasn't said anything bad about Cleveland. He said a lot of bad about the Browns, but he hasn't said anything bad about Cleveland.
So all of these, but I think it is good to bring this up because whether it's Steve Harvey, what these guys all talk about being molded in Northeast Ohio the way they are. They attribute their success to it. They also would not move back here. They're not.
I think they're missing out.
They're not at this stage moving back here. The other thing, and originally
Geraldo moved back here. Ain't even from here.
That's actually true. Yeah, he did move back here. So I do think it's relevant to bring up though, because there is a bigger conversation about what he said about Memphis.
Yes,
which is somebody who is an ambassador of the game the way LeBron is. We think he's going to be an owner. Do they have a responsibility to, I don't know if it's talk good about all these towns equally, or do you appreciate the honesty? Because if you were to poll, basically every league has places that the players don't necessarily like. They all, if they were to power rank best and worst, they're all going to give you cities. And, I remember people talking about Cleveland in NBA circles very poorly for a long time. I hope that the reputation has changed, and not only the city, but Dan Gilbert has changed, because a lot goes into that kind of stuff. I remember we always wonder, are we ever going to be able to get free agents in Cleveland, Ohio? And then we trade for Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan, you can't find one comment about Donovan Mitchell, talking negatively about this area. And I think a lot of NBA players, the reputation has kind of changed.
I think some of that has to do with the ownership. I think that, you seeing what they did, what was it, Dennis Schroeder, where he showed the video when he got to the arrangements they made for him and how welcoming they made it seem to be for him. And maybe they do that with a lot of other teams. I don't see that with a lot of other teams.
Joe Barton also did a whole piece about the chefs, cooking the food here in Cleveland. Says he has not gotten that at every stop. But that's the team, and then there's the city.
But your team can make the city, if the team takes that good care of you, then it makes the city that much more enjoyable.
Look at Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City has become like a destination for these players.
You could be in an area where the fans are very nice to you, but if the owner's a jerk and is a cheap ass, you're not going to want to stay there. So I think it's different. Plus, let me say this. LeBron, I think, in his eyes, is doing the responsible thing. I don't like dumping on towns because there's a history of us being dumped on. And I've never been to Memphis, Tennessee. Owen has. I'm sure Owen can tell me I assume there's a lot of fun I can get into.
There's
in
one
Memphis.
really fun street in Memphis.
There you go. I can find fun in just about every city out there. And I can find danger in places you don't want to be.
But guess where LeBron can't go?
He can't go there.
He can't go on Bill Street every night.
No, he can't. That's fair.
Not happening.
But I think in his eyes, he's doing the responsible thing. He's isn't he a senior vice president of the Players Association?
I think
so. He's talking for the players. The players don't want to be there. In his eyes, he's saying the responsible thing to get them to move the team to Nashville.
And for the league to profit, to maximize. It's all these, man, he's speaking like a future owner. I mean,
he is
optimizing, even though there was a report 2 weeks ago, LeBron flat out said that he was not going to be in on the Las Vegas bids or whatever. But, in the end, he's speaking like an owner. These owners want to optimize profits, and you're going to be able to do that in Nashville over Memphis every single time.
I understand that. But it's always going to annoy me. What he says, and I think what he probably says, has a lot of common sense in it. Bigger market, more going for it. I'm looking at it from an outsider's perspective. It's become is it still a tourist destination, or is that cooled a little bit? Nashville. Like, are people still like flying to? Okay, I'm just wondering.
Yes, every bachelorette party now. That's
okay.
it's like become the new Vegas.
Call them the Nashville Bachelors. Then you have this area that when LeBron said what he said while he was playing golf, it's jumping, it's exploding. They're talking about putting possibly Major League Baseball there. You have NASCAR. He'd mentioned NASCAR. You have NASCAR going back, which, boy, you gotta know some NASCAR to notice that NASCAR is going back to Nashville. I'm just pointing that out. You got a football team there that's getting a new stadium. There's a lot of things going on in Nashville. We no longer have country music stars throwing pieces of furniture off of balconies. There's a lot of things going for Nashville. I'll understand that. But because of what we do, I do sympathize with the fans, and I just hate it where you put us in a position where there was the clip that John sent us with the local news in Memphis ripping LeBron, saying that he's from Cleveland and ripping Cleveland. I don't like to do that. There's good places within every single city out there.
I've got this clip from Rich Paul and his podcast.
It's
the Game Over podcast.
All right.
This is Rich Paul, just because LeBron doesn't say Cleveland or Akron, right?
He just says home.
Right. So here's Rich Paul a little bit.
Again,
there's people in Memphis that don't want to be in Memphis.
Yeah.
I'm
There are
from
people in New York who
I'm
don't want to
from
be in New
Cleveland.
York.
And guess where else LeBron don't want to be? Akron.
Right.
He's from there.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there. He just outgrew it, which is fine.
Right.
But that don't mean that it's the world goes crazy. Obviously, whatever he says.
There are people in LA who don't want to be in LA.
I just think it's something that you don't say. You may feel it, you may know it, but it's something you don't say. You had the homecoming in 2014. You had basically one of the biggest times that stadium's ever been full with people was at his homecoming there. And I know that was 12 years ago. You can think it.
I'd love to hear from people in Akron.
I just don't think you can say it.
I wonder if people at Akron, if their feelings are hurt when they hear that and they hear Rich Paul talking like that.
Personally, I'm not from Akron, so maybe okay, fine. I'll hear it from people in Akron. 216-474-0092. I just don't think it's the right message to send is all. I think you represent something bigger, and you may think it. You may show it with only coming home once a year, twice a year, whatever it is. I understand. Your goals in life, personally, professionally, have changed. There's things that you cannot do that you can do in Los Angeles. I'm not going to stick my head in the sand and act like there isn't anything there. But what you represent is something that's much bigger. Your story represents something that is still the American dream in so many ways. And I just don't think you can say that publicly. 216-474-0092. I asked Daryl about it. And why are you being so close-minded about this player when we just want a great player to play for a bad football team? All that and Anthony Castrovins, 9 o'clock. We'll talk Gardos and Chase DeLauter with him next, coming up at 9 on The Fan.
XTEND 8.
first ever national title in women's basketball and finished the season at 37-1. The men's title game tonight at Indianapolis. UConn will take on Michigan. Coverage starts tonight at 7 o'clock right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Nine o'clock, Anthony Castrovitz, Gardos with him. The dangerous one, Daryl Ruiter, joins us right now. He's brought to you by
Shibe & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Hello, dangerous one.
Hello, boys. Good morning.
Ask Daryl the question you wanted to ask about LeBron.
Well, we asked a few different questions.
Do you think people in Akron are offended by LeBron saying he doesn't want to go home?
No, because I think he said it to save face, number one, and number two, I think maybe he might have been referencing playing in Cleveland more so than going home to Akron. He's invested millions in Akron. I don't think that had to do with Akron specifically.
Do you want LeBron back?
I said yesterday I don't care if he comes back.
You don't care?
No, I don't.
Scored 30, by the way, last night and had 15 assists.
Okay.
Couldn't use that on the team, a wing?
It's not about
with
using
no wings?
it. It's about he's made good on everything. He won the championship in 2016. He already came home, 4 straight NBA finals. From my standpoint, there's nothing left for him to prove or to do for Northeast Ohio. If he wants to come back for a farewell tour, great. If he wants to finish his career elsewhere, well, he's earned that right. So I'm kind of indifferent as to whether or not he comes back or not.
It's odd. It's the only person I've never heard so far that's had a side to any of this. All right, Daryl. Daryl is brought to us by
Shibe & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
All right, Daryl. So I'm getting some pushback here. I just want people to be open-minded, okay? Jeremiah Love at number 6. I've obviously got a lot of pushback on it. Hey, I'll take Carnell Tate, but if Carnell Tate's not there and I can't really get a big trade-up, it's well, why am I just passing on a player that could be very productive and very talented? I just don't want to force a peg into a square peg into a round hole. If they take Monroe Freeling at number 6 overall, all right, but he's probably not going to be on the field in the first series on offense in 2026.
Well, I mean, there's 3 players that I would like the Browns to come away with. 2 of them are Ohio State Buckeyes, obviously.
Okay.
I think we talked about this on Friday. I wouldn't have a problem if they drafted Jeremiah Love. He is an explosive, game-changing player offensively, which is something the Browns do need. Quinshon Judkins had a good rookie season up until he had gotten hurt, was very productive. Obviously, they also drafted Dylan Sampson, who contributed last year as well. There would be an argument to be made that you spent 2 picks on running backs last year. This would be a bit of a luxury pick, but you could also say the same thing about the potential of drafting Caleb Downs as well, because the defense is pretty much set on that side of the ball. You have needs at tackle and wide receiver, but again, I think Caleb Downs is a game-changing type of player, and I'm not a big fan of passing on game-changing talent just to fill needs. And they've got 5 of the top 110 picks in this draft. The wide receiver group is thought to be pretty good, especially at the top. Not a lot of separation between the number 1 wide receiver and maybe the number 10 wide receiver. So maybe you can wait until the 24th pick to take that particular player because you'll still get a good one. But if they went Jeremiah Love, it would be very hard for me to, really go after him and rail against that selection because he is such a good player.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say here, Daryl. I can't believe a team that won 8 games over the last 2 years, that's major problem has always been offensive over those last 2 years, how we could be so narrow-minded about a guy just because he plays a position. Has it been a luxury position in the past? Yes. Is our quarterback play going to be that great this year? We don't anticipate it, so obviously that doesn't become a luxury. That becomes a necessity for us.
Yeah, well, and he's a guy you can play in the slot. he's not just a pure running back, the prototypical you just hand the ball off to him. You can move him around the field quite a bit, and also too he could help you cover up some of the warts you have at the quarterback position right now, because let's be honest about it, that problem's not getting solved this year. You're going to go into 2027 with the same problem you've had for the last 27 years. So if you can bring in a player that can help not just be a game changer, but also be a little bit of a safety valve, I do think that kind of makes sense.
All right, Daryl Ruiter joining us right now. So Carnell Tate, we were talking about jerseys to buy in the city of Cleveland. If they get Carnell Tate, I think fans are going to be ecstatic. My question is, what are realistic expectations for him? Because I think in most drafts, he has no shot to be top 10, top 15. But obviously, this draft is this draft. How pumped should we be getting Carnell Tate at 6 overall?
Well, I mean, if they take Tate, then my expectation would be is that he would be the number one wide receiver if we're talking expectations. So, and I think that's fair. You're top 10 pick, and come in and not only be the number one wide receiver, but have a tremendous impact. You cannot be. Braylon Edwards is kind of an unfair comparison, but I'm going to use it anyway because. It took a couple of years for Braylon Edwards to have that impact, and then his impact was brief. He had one really, really good season with the Browns, and that was the Derek Anderson year in 2007, which was kind of like the Browns' offensive coming out party. It was like the first time in the expansion era where they really had a high-powered, explosive-type offense. You had, Kellen Winslow also had a 1,000-yard receiving season that year. I think they had 6-7 Pro Bowlers that year. But, as far as Carnell Tate goes, I think that's a pretty fair expectation. If you're a top 10 draft pick and you're a receiver, you should be thought that you're going to come in and be a game changer, be the number one wide receiver in that room. Not just because of, being drafted in the top 10, but that's a need for this team. They need a number one wide receiver so they can move Jerry Jeudy back to being the number 2, which is where I feel Jerry Jeudy's talents are best used. So he's had to be the number 1 wide receiver because, the Browns haven't had that in a couple years, and it's a need. So they turned to him to try and fill that need. But, I think Carnell Tate would certainly have to fill that.
Daryl, those veteran workouts start tomorrow. Let me ask you, does the quarterback competition in earnest start tomorrow morning?
Yeah. Everything's evaluated at this point. Once they start getting in the building, everything counts. You're showing up on time, meeting, participation, learning the new offense, right? They're not on the field yet. That's a couple of weeks away. But, absolutely the quarterback competition and at least the evaluation of the quarterbacks, that absolutely begins tomorrow. No question about it.
We've gotten into a whole interpretation of what the owner said about Deshaun Watson. I have a question. Have they even really seen him? Do they have any idea what the shoulder, which now we're over a year, away from that surgery, 2 years away, 3 years away, also the Achilles? Does the team have any idea what they're getting with Deshaun Watson at this point?
No, they have Instagram just like the rest of us.
So that's it. They've got the workout videos.
Daryl!
Just saying. The highlight reels do look good. I can't lie. He does look good on the gram. They'll certainly, I think, get a look, a better evaluation of him once they get into the offseason program because, popping in the building prior to that is all voluntary, and there's not much you're allowed to do. You can't really talk football with guys. You can't show playbooks, coaches, it's very limited to, at least in Deshaun's case, the training staff, working with him because he did miss last year with an injury. So, I have very low expectations. My expectations are he's going to look great on the practice field. People are going to ooh and ah and get really, really excited about him. Throwing the football around against the threat of no contact whatsoever. But my anticipation is that we're going to have the same results that we have had every time he has come back from missing significant time, and that is the internal clock is going to be off, the processing is going to be off, things are going to be moving too fast for him, and then, that's going to obviously affect what he's actually able to do on the field. So I have very low expectations for Deshaun. But I do expect he'll probably win the competition because he's going to look good in practice because he's the most experienced. He's had to learn offenses before. He's been through offseason programs before and all those things. But I don't think it's going to bear much fruit this fall.
Do you think that they're starting to, with some of the comments that have been made, that they might be kind of laying the foundation for a runway for him to start? Because I do think that while there's some fans that are vehemently against him playing for the Browns ever again,
100%. They are softening the ground for him to win that competition 100%. There's no question about that. That's smart on their part to lay that groundwork now, Ken, because there is a real possibility that he's your starter week one. I mean, that's not hyperbole. That's not trying to stir up any drama or anything like that. No, it's a real possibility. They've done nothing in that quarterback room right now. Shedeur Sanders ended the season as the starting quarterback for the team. Those two are going to be your main competitors. They're, casually saying Dylan Gabriel's in there as well because he's on the roster, and I think everyone forgot that he's still on the roster. But it's Deshaun v. Shedeur Sanders as of right now, subject to change whether they make a move in the coming weeks or, God forbid, they draft a quarterback early in this upcoming draft.
So as of right now, would you rather just trade out of 6 or would you rather just take Carnell Tate? In realistic possibilities, before I move on to another question here.
Well, I think they're going to trade out of 6 if they can.
Okay.
The jackpot for Andrew Berry is that Tate, Downs, Love, all three of those players are there at 6. I don't think all three of them will be there at 6, but if all three of them are there at 6, that will make trading down a little easier on Andrew Berry.
If a Cleveland fan's getting a jersey today, what type of jersey are they getting? Are they getting this is today.
Okay.
Chase DeLauter.
Okay.
James Harden.
All right.
Any Cleveland Brown.
I never recommend getting a Cleveland Brown jersey outside of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. You know what? I would say Chase DeLauter because he's going to be here longer than James Harden is.
That's all I'm saying. I think that he's the first one that David Blitzer makes a big – I don't know if it's happening today. I don't think it's happening today, for the love of God. I got my head shoot off earlier. But, yeah, I think that he's probably the first one that is a big investment by David Blitzer.
Yeah, what the Pirates did with their 19-year-old shortstop, that contract, I think that's – I don't know if that's really great business sense because a lot of stuff can happen over a 10-year period. And then also, too, you're paying more than you actually have to pay. And, Chase DeLauter will be on that, that scale. And, I think you wait 2 years and then you go ahead and try and do the extension where you're buying out those arbitration years and then 1 or 2 years of potential free agency.
Should Cavs fans be concerned about their lack of defense, hustle, attitude over the last, seems like 3 weeks down the stretch, or is this just kind of the feeling out process as we wait for the playoffs?
Well, they've used, 38, 39 different starting lineups this year. They're the only team to use that many that has a winning record. They can't get healthy. To me, I'm more concerned about their health, Anthony, than I am about their defensive prowess right now. I think that they're still trying to figure stuff out. They're going to go into the playoffs trying to figure stuff out. That's not a great position to be in. But I'm going to flip it into a positive. I said this yesterday as well. Hey, at least they've gone through this, right? They've not been healthy the whole year. They've had to use all these different lineup combinations. They've been through this before, so maybe that can help them in the playoffs deal with whatever situations are going to pop up from a lineup standpoint. They do need to kind of step things up on the defensive side of the floor. There's no question about that. There needs to be some refinement there. I found it interesting. Kenny Atkinson seemed to, I don't know if happy is the right word, but he was complimentary of their defensive work in the fourth quarter, especially James Harden. So it's a concern, but I am way more concerned about player availability at this point.
Daryl, we thank you very much for the time. All the very best to you and yours, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.
You bet, guys. Look forward to it.
Daryl Ruiter, brought to you by
Shibe & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
9 o'clock, Anthony Castrovince going to join us on the show. Can I mention one thing right there that Daryl ended with right when we come back? Because I don't know how Lima and I can be mad. How can Cavs fans latch on to the Cavs when they don't necessarily know who they are right now? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work in the free Odyssey app.
you can move him around the field. And also, too, he could help you cover up some of the warts you have at the quarterback position right now. Because let's be honest about it, that problem's not getting solved this year. You're going to go into 2027 with the same problem you've had for the last 27 years. If you can bring in a player that can help not just be a game changer, but also be a little bit of a safety valve, I do think that kind of makes sense.
That's Daryl Ruiter with us just moments ago. I wanted to bring up something Cavs, and now you got me going. You got me all upset because you were reading all the social media during the break, and now you got what you wanted. Keith got what he wanted. He got upset Ken on a Monday. There you go. I just don't understand how a team that's won 8 games altogether in 2 years, and all of it's because of their offense. Absolutely not. We can't have this guy. Why? Because you already took 2 running backs last year. Oh, okay. We can't have anybody. So we have to pass on talent. We have to fit square pegs in round holes. Social media reactions brought to you by who, Owen?
Shibe & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Jay, who's a great listener, been a listener for a long time. Browns had Nicholas Jamal Chubb, and they were still cheeks. You need to go get a wide receiver or offensive lineman. A marginal upgrade at running back does not improve the offense. One, I'm still taking Carnell Tate. Like, we have to be on brand here. All right? I'm taking Carnell Tate. If I can't trade out, I'll probably trade out. But I'll take Carnell Tate if he's there. If he's not there, and I'm prepared to not have a team that's willing to give me value to move up to number 6, then we have to have this discussion. Because you guys mentioned Nick Chubb, and I'm thinking, all right, but who's going to be there that I absolutely have to? If you just want a round 1 offensive lineman, fine. Take CeCe Mawanoa. Take Spencer Fano. But you guys keep giving me needs and fits and all these other things, and I'm going, wait a minute. When you had Nick Chubb, I wrote it down just to make sure. Joel Bitonio was your 2nd-round draft choice, right? 2nd round, started from day 1. J.C. Treader and Ethan Posick, 4th round, 2nd round, okay? Wyatt Teller, you traded for him. He was a 5th-round pick. Jack Conklin was a 1st-round pick by Tennessee, who you signed in free agency. And the one 1st-round pick that was on that offensive line that was by the Browns is a guy that nobody likes in Jed Wills. So I don't need to force a situation if it's not there. Because I'll be much more worried. I'll tell you this. He's not who I'm running up and giving the card for. But I'll be much more nervous if they were to turn in Monroe Freeling at number 6 because he plays left tackle, than if they were to turn in Jeremiah Love. You fired your head coach. Why? Because your offense is bad and you only won 8 games over the last 2 years. So Todd Monken isn't going to be able to do anything with a guy who's supposed to be the next Bijan Robinson. He's not going to be able to do anything with him. Just making sure. I know by the end of the day I'll get turned on to I'll be Jeremiah Love guy because that's what you want to paint me out to be, and I can already see you planting the seeds to everybody.
You just said
I should have an
open mind.
I just want to have an open mind, and I think a team that has won 8 games in 2 years should have an open mind. Okay?
It's just the tough spot that they put themselves in, allowing themselves to get to this situation where they had to address all 5 spots, and they had to do it in a very, I shouldn't say controversial way, the way they've done it so far, but, who are their offensive linemen of the future they have on this team? Like, they've addressed the offensive line. Have they fixed the offensive line?
No.
2 very, very different things.
Yeah.
And it's because of that we are left. Same thing, by the way, at number 1 wide receiver. Look, they did trade. They made a big swing for Jerry Jeudy. Can I call it a big swing? Not a huge swing, but it was a swing for Jerry Jeudy. And I think it's just pretty evident Jerry Judy's miscast in his roles at number 1.
I am just shocked that I have people who I respect being so close-minded when we have found so many different ways to win football games over the past 5 years with not so great quarterback play. And I'm talking not the Browns, I'm talking about in general. Like, you still have the easiest way to do it, have a really good quarterback. Well, if I can't get a really good quarterback this year, then I'm going to have to find another way to do it. And if I got a guy who is multi-purpose, multi-talented, that I can do multiple things within my offense, not just line him up in the backfield, how do I just say absolutely not to that guy? Yeah, Carnell Tate makes our life a lot easier. You put Carnell Tate out there, you can hopefully have a guy that keeps a defense honest, They have to pay attention to number 17. They can't just hone in on number 10. Carnell Tate makes Quinshon Judkins' life easier. I know that going in. Carnell Tate's my pick. But if I can't get Carnell Tate because he ends up going to the Giants, I think it was Bruce Feldman's latest mock draft, and guys, I got to keep an open mind, because what if I got a team that's going, yeah, I'll move up to 6, but you're not going to get what you would in a normal trade? Well, I want maximum value.
Well, look, can we just say it for what it really is? I think in your situation, and I'm not, this is not a criticism. I think this is...
Criticize. Go ahead. Criticize me.
This is more of a reality. I think you, because what the Browns have done to us, especially with the drafts and the lack of talent we've been able to get in the drafts until last year, I think you are really worried about taking a shot, taking a risk.
Yes.
We all agree.
Yes.
Jeremiah Love is, I think he's going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be, people compare him to Marshall Faulk. I don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Fame.
I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah,
but
hey, it's good to project all these guys. That's what we do. It's the draft. But there is I think Jeremiah Love is going to be good. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't know if any of these offensive linemen are going to be really good. It's just that the position of running back doesn't, to me, get the Browns materially closer. It just
do you really think?
So you'd have Judkins. First of all, would that tell us something about Judkins' injury if they went with Jeremiah Love? But maybe you wouldn't care. Maybe you wouldn't care because you'd have Jeremiah Love. I don't know. Bones
heal. It wasn't tendons. If it were tendons, I'd be worried. Like if it was an ACL, or obviously if he had an Achilles, he'd still be out. But
what does a great running back get you in today's NFL on otherwise bad teams? I mean,
not very much.
That's the Bijan Robinson thing too.
I know that. But I can't believe that we would feel better about a guy who has so little experience, who we had Brian Baldinger on, and it said, hey, he's going to have to, it's going to take some time, and a guy like Myles Garrett can certainly ruin the beginning of his career because he's going to be going against him in every practice. Like, I can't believe that, and I'm an offensive line guy, that we're just going to feel better about a Monroe Freeling at number 6 than we would Jeremiah Love when I'm looking for guys who can make an impact. And I know that Jeremiah Love can't make an impact without a good offensive line, but what I'm pointing out is that Jeremiah Love will be on the field for you Series 1, Week 1. I don't think Monroe Freeling will be there. And if he is, well, obviously he will have had a very good camp, and I'll have some hope for him, but I think I'd be more weary of Monroe Freeling than I would Jeremiah Love. So I just can't believe we're so close-minded to anything. Like, if this was a team that we were drafted at the bottom end of the first round, and you're like, boy, you need some help here, and here, and we're going to be better. And we already had the quarterback, fine. Knock it down. Knock down all those things we want. But I just can't see a team that on the offensive side, when we are so bereft of talent, that we have a guy that, no, absolutely not. Why? Because he plays running back, and we took 2 running backs last year. I mean, I'm going to let Dylan Sampson get in the way of that? No offense. I'm not. He's a great overall player. I think we have to be open-minded to this. And I'm a guy who's still taking Carnell Tate. 216-474-0092. Anthony Kastrovitz joins us next. Did he already get a Chase DeLauter jersey? When's the last jersey you think that Anthony Kastrovitz actually got? And how much patience should we have? Obviously, that's not the big question. How much patience should we have with Cade Smith, Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, Anthony Kastrovitz, MLB.com, MLB Network, coming up in 5 on The Fan.
takes on Michigan. Coverage starts tonight at 7 o'clock right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
This is the only place to trust for Cavs talk anytime you want. Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
What are the realistic expectations for Chase DeLauter? Well, let's go to Anthony Castrovitz, who joins us, MLB.com, MLB Network, here in just a moment. However, we have ourselves a giveaway. 92.3 The Fan looking for a winner. Be caller 5, 216-474-0092. You're going to be named a general manager of one of 32 NFL picks at our 2026 mock draft. April 16th, a game on, located on Lorraine Road in fabulous North Olmsted. Plus, you're going to get some exclusive Bud Light gear and a buffet dinner at the event. It's absolutely free. You got to be 21 and older, though, okay? We're going to give away your team here in just a moment. Caller 5, 216-474-0092. Owen, or Lima, grab the bowl. Here's the bowl.
Yes, we do have the vaunted bowl.
It is actually the first time I've told him to grab the bowl in an actual bowl setting. So there you go. We'll get to caller 5, and then we'll get Anthony Castrovitz here momentarily here as
Check
the Guardians.
under the desk there, Anthony.
Get ready. Oh, there's something under the desk, Tone. You got to check. Apparently, did he drop one?
Team?
Okay, we got to make sure you got one of the teams in there.
And then you've got the 2 that I froze and put in there, right?
Yeah, you don't want to lose any of those.
Still looking for it.
You know, you say that now, and then all of a sudden we end up in a meeting. So you don't want to do that. Of course, you didn't end up in a meeting after Thursday, and I thought that was going to happen too. So, because that was a wild, wild time for everybody involved. All right, we got our winner, Scott in Elyria. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
Scott, congratulations. You're going to game on for the Fan Mock Draft April 16th. It's a hell of a time. All right, Lima, you ready to give him his team?
Scotty, here we go. I'm pulling it out. Your team for the mock draft. Oh, you're going to have a lot transpire before you. You have the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks.
You can always trade. You can always do things and move around and trade. You can trade anything you want, beers, food, shirts. It doesn't matter. Okay, Scott?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to put you back on hold. Congratulations. I'm going to have John get your information there. He has to answer the right number, but I'll have John get your information there. Let's go to Anthony Castrovitz. He joins us right now on the Make It Right Call Kyle Right hotline. Anthony, he just hung up on Anthony, so now we're not going to be able to take Anthony Castrovitz over there. John is struggling this morning. That's a fabulous time for everybody involved.
All right, so I said it earlier in the show. I think the Guardians' start to the season has been as good as anybody could imagine. You haven't lost a series yet, even though we're going to talk to Anthony about this on whether this is sustainable.
God willing.
The offense is back to putrid. Now it's that cold time of the year, at least on these games yesterday. It took a while for the bats to get warmed up, but you have a negative run differential. You're bottom 5 in almost every metric that matters in baseball. And quite honestly, I mean, it's been DeLauter. You have relied so heavily on him so far this year. And, you know, the pitching has been pretty solid, I think you would say. So how sustainable is this as you look at very few teams, by the way, in the American League have a positive run
I think anything that gets you winning in March and quote-unquote sustainable, I just think in these early months when you go from dry, warm weather to a bit of humidity, and I know that the weather was perfect on Friday, but you have these ups and downs, these cold, these warm weathers, like tonight, what's it going to be tonight for the Royals game? I mean, good God, somebody said it was snowing outside earlier today. So anything you can get to kind of get you over the hump and get going, that would be fantastic. So, like right now, it's like I'm always hand to mouth at the beginning of the season. Anything that we could turn into something that is consistency is good. I don't know what he's doing. So, and I know that you went and did it. He's going to do it his own way, and we're just going to wait and see whether or not. Hopefully that didn't get out there. We're just going to sit here and wait for John to get his affairs in order, apparently. Here. Okay. I pray to God John doesn't touch any of the phones before I hit this. This is Anthony Castrovitz. Please, you're on the Make It Right Call Kyle Right hotline. Thank God Anthony's laughing about it. Hello, Anthony.
Good morning, guys. This might be the first time this wasn't my fault in some way.
It's not yours.
I'll take it.
It's not yours.
All right.
John made you a very hard target, so I apologize for the inconvenience here. Chase DeLauter, his type of, how do you describe, one word to describe his start Because I'm thinking remarkable. What's a word that you can think of?
My favorite concert description is transcendent. And so this has been a transcendent first, week plus for Chase DeLauter, really exceeding every conceivable expectation you could have for the young man. I think there's way too much pressure on him and the way this lineup is constructed, but you got to give him credit, man. This guy just shows up and hits. When he's healthy, he's done nothing but hit in his professional career, brief as it has been because of the injuries, but he just has that natural ability to adjust to whatever in front of him, Short swing helps, and he's been their guiding light offensively, which is crazy.
How soon, and this kind of stokes the fire a couple days ago, we talked about it and we still thought it was a little early, but you see Connor Griffin get a big contract from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know there's an injury history there with Chase DeLauter, but I mean, how soon do we start talking about a big contract to kind of set everything up?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously have a long organizational history. They kind of pioneered that concept of signing pre-arb young players to extensions. We're seeing that now at the across the major leagues. We're seeing that now into the minor league ranks of guys who not only haven't debuted, but we've seen a couple examples in recent weeks of guys who aren't even close to debuting, really. So that's just kind of the way the game has trended. And yeah, if I'm then, it doesn't usually happen, those negotiations in season. If so, it would be like this very early juncture of the season, or perhaps, finish something off at the All-Star break or what have you. But so I don't know to what extent they had those discussions, if at all, during spring training. That's the time, that's the meat of the time to, get the meat of a deal done. But I do know that teams across the majors are trying to get some of those deals on the books, before the next CBA, with the thought that they might be grandfathered in or what have you. But I don't know, to what extent they've had any luck in getting anywhere with Chase DeLauter.
Anthony Kastrovitz joining us on the show. Anthony, I don't want to go too far in the weeds with it, but if there's a way that you kind of boil it down to tell us how it would go, because we hear rumors about after 2027, David Blitzer would take over full time. We know that he was in conversations with Jose Ramirez's contract extension that just happened over this winter. How much would David Blitzer, say they wanted to do it during the All-Star break this year or during right after the season this year, how involved would David Blitzer be then to making that deal happen?
Yeah, I would think pretty involved, because I know, and it's the first time to my knowledge that he was directly involved in conversations with Jose Ramirez, in that extension that they signed a couple months back. He was involved in that process, because the reality is, the bulk of that contract, you would think he would be the controlling interest, from an ownership standpoint. So I would think it would be the same thing with the Chase DeLauter deal. There's been a lot of mystery to just the David Blitzer experience. I've never met the guy. He's never talked to the media, and there's no reason he has to this point. But he just hasn't been as present, as like John Sherman when he was minority owner. He was pretty present. David Blitzer, that has not been the case. So I don't know what the exact, timetable will be, or what his interest is at this point in as you said, exercising that option to take over majority, following 2027. We don't know. But I do think that, yeah, realistically, if you're gonna sign a guy to an extension that's gonna cover probably a fair amount of his early ownership, I would think he would be deeply involved in those talks.
Anthony Kastrovitz joining us right now on the hotline. So I said the great thing about this start to the season is you played 3 playoff teams and you haven't lost a series yet, and you're getting by with one of the bottom 5 offenses in almost every metric. You have a negative run differential. Now that's the good part of this, is you've got that record. The bad part of it is, how sustainable is this?
Yeah, it's probably not super sustainable. And we saw, it's weird, because last season was obviously, in the end, it was a great season. It was fun that they had this historic comeback. But why they had this historic comeback? Well, because they stunk for most of the year offensively. It was a really tough watch. And there's times you look up at the scoreboard at these games and look at the bottom half of the lineup, and you're like, what are we doing here? How does this team score any runs, lower half? But, they do have a couple tricks up their sleeve, and Chase DeLauter was one of them. And again, he's exceeded what you could reasonably expect, and he'll cool off. But I do think that's potential. If healthy, that's a very productive player, in the making. And you got another one in Travis Bazzana, who's just not far off, I don't think. And that can change you in a hurry. You know, going, it sounds funny to say about what has been traditionally one of the youngest lineups in baseball anyway, but they could get younger, you know, as the season goes along and get some youthful, injection of upside, which is what they need. But yeah, it's never going to be a juggernaut offensively. It's just not built that way. And you're going to have to just fight through games like they did yesterday in the nightcap. You know, that was a really impressive win in cold, brutal conditions and, you know, just not great offensive conditions, and really fought back against the Cubs bullpen and came out with a series win as a result.
Anthony Kastrovich joining us, MLB.com. You mentioned Gabi Arias. Are people being a little bit too critical of him right now because his name is not Travis Bazzana?
Well, it's just we have a long sample of just real inconsistency. You know, he'll have these moments where he just steps up out of nowhere, like he did at the home opener, and and he can make some great defensive plays. I just think he's miscast as a everyday shortstop, on a contending team. I think he'd be better served as a middle infield, bench piece. I just think that's what he probably should be on a really good team. I mean. And they want to be a really good team. So I think it's natural that you're going to have a drumbeat for a guy who was the number one overall pick in the draft. Like, that's totally reasonable. Yeah. And we have a long track record to suggest that Gabriel Arias is not necessarily like an everyday middle infielder. But, yeah, when he steps up, it's fun. I mean, I'll give a shout-out to his daughter goes to my daughter's school. So they know each other a little bit. And so that was a fun moment to see her in the press conference after the home opener. So I root for him for that standpoint. And, again, he'll come through in the clutch on occasion and just make you shake your head. Like, just when, it's the Dumb and Dumber thing. Just when I think you can't get any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Cade Smith, we were wondering if we are like month to month on Cade Smith as the closer, week to week, day to day. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, it's early. I don't know. It's April 6th, and I try not to freak out about anything, especially guys with a discernible track record, and he has that. The only thing I'd say about Cade Smith is, I mean, this guy has not even reached arbitration yet, and he's at what, like 150 appearances in the big leagues or something like that. I'm looking at it now, 155 innings, 156 appearances. I mean, he's been used, and I'm not going to say abused, but he's definitely been used, 70-plus appearances in his first two seasons. And that's tough, man. I mean, I think about, remember Dellin Betances, with the Yankees and Mets?
Yeah.
He had a shorter career than he otherwise would have, just because to his credit, he had instant success in the big leagues, was instantly a high-leverage guy, and they rode with him, and it's the same thing going on here in Cleveland with Cade Smith. So I'm not sweating, a handful of appearances at the start of the season, but relievers are funky like that, right? I mean, it's very hard to have a 3, 4, 5, 6 year track record of elite performance in a big league bullpen, because the league figures you out, or just the attrition of just, getting up and down so many times. And he's gotten up and down a bunch in the last couple of years.
How do I get consistency out of Stephen Kwan? We hadn't had it at the end of last season, and it's been a bit up and down this year so far.
It really has, that to his credit, there's a high floor there just because of, the discipline he has and the defense, of course, and his ability to just go slide into center field this season is so huge for them. It just makes their lineup make more sense. If this is going to be the construction of the lineup, then having Stephen Kwan in center makes the most sense. And I give him a lot of credit as a veteran player with 4 gold gloves, to be willing to do that for them. But yeah, offensively, there's no doubt. I do think he's a player who, gets in his head a bit. But it is, that's a growing track record now, because you have all the second half of last season. It's just been kind of erratic in general with him offensively, through his big league career for the most part. So, how you get him on track, I don't know. I'm not their hitting coach, but I would say that, that's a player who knows the strike zone so well, and, has the capability of, even if he's not getting his hits, can find his way on base. And that's what they need from him ultimately.
30 seconds, because Lima has a very important question to ask you, but I just want to run it by you. Is it fair to wonder if he's pressing a little bit because of the contract stuff?
It's very fair, I think. Just because that's a player who's let us into his mindset, more than most, I would say. And it's a very mental game. And I would be shocked if that doesn't play into his thinking. I really would. I get asked a lot, like, would they trade Stephen Kwan this year? And I'm like, I don't know why you would trade him at this point. Like, it's kind of not the peak value, I think first things first, they got to get him straightened out offensively and then worry about if he's going to be here, beyond this year.
Anthony, it's always great to get others' perspective, especially on something like baseball. So yesterday, family was over. We're watching the games. And my wife's sister goes, "What's this challenge thing?" And so we explained it to her with the ABS. Then she goes, "Well, that's cool, but what's the point of even doing these challenges? Why are we even wasting time on that when we just have the computers telling you what the ball is and what the strike is?"
Right.
So right now, everybody's loving the situation right now. Do you think we ever just go all the way?
Well, going all the way would be a lot like trying to take two young kids to an Easter Sunday mass and, one of them starts crying and then the other one starts crying. I believe that was your experience, right?
It would be. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be. It would take a lot out of the experience because they did test it pretty thoroughly in the minor leagues. And I never say never, and maybe the drum beat will get so loud that they do go to full, quote-unquote, robot umps, but they did it in the minor leagues, and it was pretty much universally despised. It really was because it's so precise. And we've seen some of these challenges where it nicks the strike zone by like a fraction of the ball, and but it was so precise that it just didn't look like baseball. That's the best way I could put it. It slowed the game down. There were more walks, and people hated it. Catchers really there's a nuance to the game with the way catchers frame pitches. There's a nuance to the way umpires call games, move them along when it's 10-0. The strike zone gets a little wider, that sort of thing. And with the ABS challenge, it's just nice because it's conceivably the biggest spots. It's not always the biggest spots. Sometimes guys get greedy and challenge when they shouldn't or whatever. They challenge early in the game when it's not really clear that's a high leverage moment. But it is limited in its nature. And it's fun, man. It's just fun to be in the park when everybody's heads turn to the scoreboard and, all right, let's see. And it's so quick, So they're in a really good spot with it. I think it's functioned pretty well. I know there's been some online chatter from people who don't necessarily know much about the baseball and the strike zone, but it's functioning pretty well. I think you watch some of these sequences where it really livens up the crowd. In a spot that never would have done so otherwise. And I just love the strategy of it. I love that it's putting the onus on the teams to figure out when to do this, how to do this, how aggressive to be. And, it's just one more thing to critique after the game.
I love it. As a fan, I love it. Anthony, I love your time with us. Thank you so much for the time. @CastroVince on Twitter. Anthony, take care.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Anthony Castrovince, MLB.com, MLB Network, the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. I didn't want to be unfair to Stephen Kwan. I think it's something you have to wonder, though. He has let us in, so when you let us in like that, I thought it was a great answer by Anthony. I want to get back to that coming up. 216-474-0092. All I ask, it's not that I would take the guy. It's that I just need you to be a little bit more open-minded. That's all I ask. And Ohio State fans being asked to do the impossible, that's at 9:45 on The Fan.
Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and the Cavs look to get real healthy for a postseason run. We are your home for the best Cavs talk in Cleveland. 92.3 The Fan.
To his credit, there's a high floor there just because of, the discipline he has and the defense, of course, and his ability to just go slide into center field this season is so huge for them. It just makes their lineup make more sense. If this is going to be the construction of the lineup, then having Stephen Kwan in center makes the most sense. And I give him a lot of credit as a veteran player with 4 gold gloves, to be willing to do that for them.
Anthony Castrovince with us just moments ago, MLB.com, MLB Network. Also, if you've missed any points, Lima and I's knockdown drag out that we had earlier today about the Cleveland Browns, you can go ahead and listen to that, 92.3 The Fan, on the free Odyssey app by using the Rewind feature, powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. Outstanding from Anthony Castrovince. And it seemed like it was an unfair question. It felt like I was touching the third rail there. Anthony Castrovince said it was a fair question to wonder whether or not Stephen Kwan is pressing a little bit because of his contract situation. And I think it's a very fair question, considering that I understand. What was it, an Instagram post a few years ago? It's been a few years since that post.
It was after his rookie year.
Yeah, and it said at the bottom where they don't like to pay people what they're worth, which I think a lot of Guardians fans probably agree. But we've known how he's felt for a while. And last year, we were throwing out Anthony and I were throwing out some outrageous numbers to pay Stephen Kwan. But guys, I wouldn't have thrown around that number had I not been texted by people who I know this game and know this team and was like, yeah, he might as a free agent get that number somewhere else. And the people who told us said it would be a complete overpay, but people overpay for players all the time. And so now that you have Stephen Kwan there, like, he's showing himself he's good anywhere in the outfield. He's good anywhere in the outfield. I mean, he looked like a newborn baby deer running down a ball in center field this weekend, and he still was able to make the catch. CJ Kafis,